Constellation, Last Stand Media's conversational podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our podcast network, head to patreon.com/laststandmedia.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Constellation, our conversational podcast. It is I, your temporary host again, Chris Raygun. I'm joined by Ben and Maddie.
Hello.
How are you guys doing? Maddie, how you doing?
Doing good, man. I mean, I see you're wearing the Yankee hat. I don't know. Are you wearing that for style, or is this in like, are we mourning the loss in the World Series?
I wear this primarily for style. I like the Yankee hat a lot. Like, I don't know what it is about it.
Yeah.
I think I just grew up around it a lot, to be fair. But I will say, like, I met up with a friend of mine at a bar. It's like it's like a friend that, like, I never, like, our schedules never align. And I feel so bad every time. I'm like, I'm sorry. So I was like, all right, let's go. Like, I have time. And we went out to this bar. And I didn't realize that the World Series were playing, or like the Yankees and the Dodgers were playing. It was like game one, I think.
Oh, man.
And so I was just sitting there with a Yankee hat, and everybody was like, every time the Yankees would score, so there was this guy who would like grab my arm, like, yeah, and I'm like, haha. Yeah, man. But then, like, I got, like, as the night got on, like, I got into it. I was like, like at the end, I was like, no, that last like three. I don't even know what you would call it. That last hit that, like, got them three points at the end of the game and pushed them over. Yeah, the grand slam. Yeah. I was like, yo, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I have kind of weirdly enough been paying attention. It's like the opposite way that you would pay attention to sports. It's like usually you'd be like, oh, well, I like that team. Let me
you
get
just kind of fell into it. You were an incidental Yankee fan. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I guess so. So I was paying attention, but then obviously I think the Dodgers won.
Yeah.
Which is another, technicality. That's a New York team also. So Brooklyn. So we win always.
There we go.
But yeah. Ben, how you been?
I've been all right. Took the kids trick-or-treating last night. It's a different world out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it like out there? It's been a while for me.
Dude, I've taken, I keep saying to my wife, I'm like, I hope that they grow out of wanting to go trick-or-treating soon. But at the same time, every year they're into it, I want to be there. Like, those are memories I'm not going to be able to get back, but like, I'm also like, I'm over this. But it's crazy now how different it is even from like 5 years ago. And I assume that like COVID had a lot to do with that and people just got used to not doing things or whatever. But yeah, it's just, there'll be a billion kids 1 minute and then the next they're all gone. And like some years, it seems like there's way more people giving out candy than others. And we go in the same exact streets every year for the last, 7 or 8 years. So it's just like some years you see the smallest little 2-3-year-olds running around. They look real cute in their outfits. They're all dressed up like sheep. And in other years, it's like there's no little kids. It's all teenagers. Like going to the exact same place, the exact same time. We only have like one trick-or-treat night. I don't know what's going on. All I know is that when my kids come home, they just try to give me all the crap candy they don't want. And I don't want it either. Like, it's crap candy. So it just goes in the garbage. I feel bad.
Yeah. It's like, I remember as a kid migrating a lot to different like neighborhoods. Like I feel like it was never the same neighborhood every Halloween. Like we would always get I remember around where we lived, there was this one, I don't remember exactly like what the name of the road was, but there was a road that everybody would go. Because like there was like
that's kind of what we have here.
Yeah. But then sometimes we would do it somewhere else. Like, I don't know, it's weird. The thing that I've noticed, we don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters because thank God it's an apartment complex. So like you have to get the gate to get in. If it was open, I can't even imagine. But I like the costumes that I'm seeing now are really confusing because they're costumes that I remember from like when I was a kid. It's always like Spider-Man and like, Scream is still very popular, which is awesome. I actually saw for the first time in years. You remember that Scream mask with like the blood in the mask?
Oh yeah.
I saw that. I was like, I haven't seen that in fucking forever. That is amazing.
Wow,
that's like
yeah, that's an iconic one, man. Yeah, I remember that was like the thing to get when we were younger.
That was like the PS2 of Halloween masks. Like everybody, like that was like the crown jewel. Like you have blood in your Scream mask. That's crazy. But I saw something that gave me it made me like genuinely depressed. Because I saw a Skibbity toilet costume that was absolutely like sold. It was not like a custom, like, oh, it's a joke. So like, let's build a thing as like a family for this dumb thing that my kid likes. It was a like authentic Spirit Halloween Skibbity toilet.
Oh boy,
fucking costume, and I was like, oh man, it's over.
Dude. Yeah, it makes you feel a little old now. Like, you know, there's certain things you're just gonna see on Halloween now that you're like, I don't know what that's from. You know, I remember like what's interesting is like where I grew up, like everyone was like around the same age, so Halloween was just like popping every year. And then when we all became teenagers, it died. Like my mom still lives there, and she was just like, she was saying how like only 2 people came to the house yesterday. I'm just like, damn, man, like we just grew up, that whole generation's out, and now no one's trick-or-treating there really. It's insane how much it's changed. But yeah, on the costume front, like it's so funny to see. Like I'm a big costume judger. Like I was walking my dog last night, and like people were coming up to get candy, and we had like a table set up because the dogs bark a lot when the doorbell gets rang. So it's like, you know, let's just ease the headache here for the night and just do it this way. But I was walking, and like these kids like ran up, and they all just like, it was interesting to see like that there's still some classics, like just the cowboy. Like it's not like Woody or anything like that's just cowboy, like a space suit. I'm like, oh, interesting. Like just like occupations you might want to have is still like a very popular costume choice for some. And so that was cool. But yeah, man, it was popping off here. Like we had tons of people going around. Like it was loud and stuff. And then all of a sudden you just see the curfew hit and it's dead silent. That's kind of eerie.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I love Halloween. Like I love I don't know. There's something about the vibe of it. Like I know this episode is gonna come out like way after Halloween, but
That's
like
true.
we're recording this the day after. It's weird though, like as an adult, because it's usually like costume parties or like it's usually like and it's never on Halloween, because Halloween this year was like Thursday. I remember thinking like, is anybody even gonna come out on Thursday? I feel like everybody's gonna do it on the Friday before, like the time everybody does the parties. But I saw people walking around. They just didn't get into my building. We got good security,
talk about what day things are on. When I was the mayor of my town, like one of the mayor's responsibilities is telling everyone what night trick or treat is on. I don't know why that's interesting. People are like, oh, you're the mayor, you must have a lot of authority in it. I'm like, no, I get to pick the night trick or treats on. That's what I do as the mayor. But one year it was the 31st was on a Sunday. And I was like, oh yeah, the 31st, Sunday. Great. That's Halloween. That's trick or treat. And so many people called me and were mad at me because I was letting trick or treat happen on the Lord's Day.
Oh wow.
I was like,
oh my god.
It's the 31st. Like I didn't pick the calendar date. Like it's just don't go then. I don't know.
That's
like,
not what I was
do here.
That's not what I was expecting. I was expecting them to be like, how dare you have people trick or treating? I got work in the morning tomorrow because tomorrow's Monday.
Yeah. No, you know nobody. I mean, it's crazy. I'm probably misremembering, but as a kid, I felt like trick or treat was all night long. And here and in like the surrounding area, it's like 1 hour, 6 to 7.
Oh, that's weird.
Is it still a thing to walk around with the pillowcase? Is that like and get candy in that? I feel like that was always the play.
I think all the companies got wise to that, and they just started mass producing little pumpkin buckets. And
yeah, that's what I saw. A lot of pumpkin buckets. That's what I was asking. I was like, dude, the pillowcase was the play. You just got to fill that fucking thing up. I mean, the only problem was like I remember in elementary school they would give you like assignments where you would like dump it out and they'd be like, count every piece of the type of candy you got. I'm like, dude, I got so much. Like it's gonna take forever. I just want to eat this. I want to eat this and go play Halo.
That is crazy. That is a memory I didn't realize that I had until you said
it. Yeah, man.
I missed the pillowcase. But yeah, I went to like a party like early, like the 26th or something, because that was like the last Friday before or something. And thank God for the Fallout show, because I had that Fallout jumpsuit, and also thank God for Moises Arias being short, because I was able to pull it off. And everybody was like, "Oh, you're from fall." It's like, yes, thank God, everybody knows. This is perfect.
This is totally intentional.
Yeah, and then I blacked out. So like maybe I don't know. Hopefully I didn't kill anybody, but we'll see. All right, guys. Well, let's start with. We got some topics here that I think are pretty fun. I'm really eager to get to Maddie's.
Okay.
Because this is one that I think about this. No exaggeration. Like at least like 4 times a week. I lament this. So
yeah,
take it away.
Yeah, the idea came to me. I was watching an Actman video. He did a whole video on like the Death of Midnight release. I've been talking to him lately, and I thought this is such a great fucking video because it just like I think his inspiration for the video is exactly why I was so attached to watching it. Is like you just got to really. He was like pulling up these clips of like all these midnight releases and like the crazy shit that happens, but also like the culture and the feeling around it. So I just want to ask you guys like, if you have a favorite midnight release, like what does it mean to you? Is there a dud you've had? Is there, do you remember like a cringe moment that happened at these? Because you got to remember like this was, midnight releases where like just you'd see gamers come outside and gather and like you just like, dude, I always loved to eavesdrop during midnight releases. Like I know it sounds weird, but I always love to overhear these conversations while I was like hanging out with my friends. Cause I'm like, you just hear the most wild shit. But for me, my favorite was the Xbox One midnight release. That was with, of course, what happened with COVID and when the PS5 and Xbox Series X came out, there was no opportunity to really do a midnight release near me. So you just had to order it and then like the box showed up and it was still very exciting, but wasn't on that level where like Xbox One, I remember being so pumped for like these new consoles, like when they got announced, me and my friend like got in the car, we literally sped to GameStop and put our pre-order in. And I remember after college, like I went home, grabbed food. I like loaded up my car with like books and like a chair and everything like that. I was like the second person or third person, I think it was, online for the Xbox One at like 3 p.m. And I just held the spot for my friends until they showed up and just that feeling of like, walking out the console. And I think I had Dead Rising 3, Rise Son of Rome. I was like beyond excited. But yeah, there's just a different feeling when it's a console release because this is going to be like this machine you're going to have for a long time and like what else is going to come out on it. And even starting at that night. But also, I just remember like when midnight releases, when I don't know, like when I was younger, it's like all the excitement gets to you. It hits your brain in a flash. And then I'm like tired within the hour. So like I always remember coming home with like Skyrim and like this is the game I've been counting down to, like looking up articles on the school computer, everything. I finally get it at midnight. I drive home. I only could last an hour because like all of the excitement just rushed through me. Like the adrenaline rushed through me. I'm just like cooked afterwards. And then I get up early and play the next day. So yeah, I feel like I could go on. I have tons of midnight release memories, but I just kind of wanted to set the stage of like what my favorite was and just hear from either of you on just, what this means to you. Did you like to go to these? Because I don't know, some people really embrace the whole like, oh, preload this and play it at 12. And I'm like, yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I do think it's great. Like, I do think it's very convenient. It's very helpful. Honestly, most times it's ideal. Like I can wrap my whole schedule around it and not skip a beat. But the effort of going to a midnight release has never not been worth it to me. It's always been fun. Also, because when I lived in my old town, like you never knew who you'd see. Like, oh, you're getting Pokemon, or oh, you're getting Smash, or you're getting this. Like you never knew who you'd see. And so again, it was kind of like a social event too. And that was really cool, especially because you'd like start conversations there, pick them up later that night on Xbox or whatever, and like talk to them in school the next day about it. So there was just a lot to it that, when I was watching that video, it just came flooding back to me. It was really good. I recommend people check it out. But yeah, I just want to talk about midnight releases.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, I think, man, I never went to a console midnight release.
Oh,
that is the one thing that I regret because like I never had money. And I don't think my parents understood. Like, to be fair, like if I was a parent and I didn't grow up with video games either, like I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, why? We'll just get the machine when we get it. Like, what do you mean? Like, why do you need to be there at
I have to
12?
work in the morning. What are you doing?
Yeah. So I get it. And like, it's not like a, point of like, oh, I'm angry, but like, it would have been cool to like have that machine midnight release. I would always get it like either later or even if I would get it the same day, it would be like, the next, afternoon or something, or it would arrive in like the mail. But I did get through a number of like video game releases. For whatever reason, they were fine with that. I think they understood that like people were getting trampled over machines. because that was back in Black Friday.
I think when the PS4 came out, people were getting like stabbed over it in parking lots and stuff.
Yeah, dude. Like I remember. There was a period people don't really understand anymore because like Black Friday was crazy.
Oh yeah.
Black Friday's not really anything anymore. It's like, who cares? Who gives a shit? Nobody goes outside. Like it's all Cyber Monday now, and that's like barely even perceptible.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even like really realize that was even happening. But I remember people getting stomped the fuck down at Walmart for like a flat screen TV that sucked. By the way, like that's just not a good.
Such a shitty way to go out too, right? Like,
yeah, like I gotta get this.
You died over
TV.
like a fucking Vizio, man. That sucks.
Damn, over an N-Gage. That's crazy. But yeah, like I think the ones that I remember, I've been to a handful of them, but like the ones that I remember the most are the ones that like I was like really like the Halo ones that I remember. I remember going to the Halo Reach midnight release. I remember going to the Gears 2 one. That was
wow.
They were really fucking cool. And I do miss that like sense of you'd be in line in like even in like a mall when like it's supposed to be closed. And like
yes, I know exactly what you're talking about because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's super eerie kind of because you're like it's like this place is supposed to be closed. All the stores are dead. Like there's nobody out. There's just this line of fanatics for this thing that you're really excited about, and it's like echoing through like the empty mall, and it's like
I had that for I was in there once for Black Ops 1. I distinctly remember it because we started to like roam around the mall and the security came and got us because I mean we were just bored and trying to kill time, I guess, but like that eerie sense of like it was like playing Dead Rising. Like it was just like this mall is just abandoned completely. That's so funny you bring that up. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, I that by the way, that mall keeps showing up in like viral videos. I don't know if you've noticed this.
Yeah,
like I don't know what's going on, but like the mall around where me and Maddie used to live, like keeps showing up in like I keep noticing it in random clips that I keep seeing around on like social media.
It's a great mall, man. So
I guess, I mean, I remember being miserable there because I worked at the Sears.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that was cool. Like I always liked the one outside. Like there was a restaurant called Bugaboo Creek, and then there was like a
oh my god, that place fucking sucked, dude.
It sucked really hard. It sucked so hard. I don't know what it is now.
That spot is cursed, by the way. There's been like 8 different restaurants or things there. Like they've just switched it out so many times. No one has a successful business there. It's insane.
Because I hated
like
that place.
Everyone goes out of business where Bugaboo Creek was.
Yeah. But I hated that place. But it was next to a GameStop that was like outside. It was weird. There was a GameStop in the mall, and then there was a GameStop outside of the mall. I don't understand necessarily
why. Distance, yeah.
But I liked the one outside. The one outside is the one I went to, the Halo Reach one. And I remember specifically the Domino's. There was like a Domino's either across the street or close by, where I think they must have taken notice that there was a midnight release going on. Like a bunch of people lined up outside for Halo Reach, September, I think 14th, 2010. And they had this guy from Domino's just drive out there with pizzas, not even ordered by anybody, but they're out there with pizzas. Like, who wants like, hey, a large pepperoni or like, hey, large, meat lovers or whatever. And people were like buying them. And I was just like, that's so fucking smart, dude. Like that is a brilliant idea. So genius. And I remember like loving that, dude. Like we got ourselves
sometimes
like an
GameStop would buy pizza or like
would they?
Like fast food and just kind of like leave it out for you to take. Like nowadays I would just never touch that, but like just back then that shit was clutch. Like you just be waiting online and just you take anything. Because for me, I usually line up like depending on the game, right? I always like felt out the GameStop employee. I'd be like, yeah, like what's the pre-orders looking like? Like how they're like, oh, we got like over 100. You should probably show up over an hour early, But sometimes it's like, showing up like 3 hours early isn't a bad idea because, you don't care until you see that first person walk out of the store at the game, and by the time you like get the game, that person's probably already home, and that's just all the difference to you. Getting there early sometimes way worth it.
Yeah, it was great. It was that was a really good memory. I think the last one that I had was, the last great one that I remember was Destiny 1. I remember getting the special. This was in, this was in New York still. I think I got it at the at that outside GameStop.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was the inside GameStop because we had to line up outside at that point. It was weird. But that was really exciting because that was like, next generation kind of, midnight release.
Yeah, that was huge.
I didn't think I appreciated the fact that that generation would slowly deteriorate that entire like community thing. Like by the end of the generation, you were just downloading your games,
Yeah.
And so like I didn't realize it at the time, but that was a really fucking fun one. And again, yeah, the people that you would meet, like the people around you, just like there's a contagious excitement around it. That's like really, really dope and really, really fun to engage in. Like strangers that like may or may not jump onto your friends list at some point, and just really cool. And I think the last one that was like the last one that I remember going to was it was Fallout 4 and then Halo 5. I think either back to back or like I can't remember which one was first or which one was last, but I remember getting Halo 5 on disc and getting it like even just holding it and feeling wrong. Like something was like I felt it.
You just knew.
Like, before I played it. You know what it was? Somebody in line I repressed this. I was in line for Halo 5 and I was like, yeah, I don't know. It looks I played the beta and it was fun. Like, I don't know. Maybe, I hope the story's good, And then they were like, hey, did you see this? Some guy pulled out his phone and showed me like that stupid drunk fight scene between Master Chief and Spartan Locke.
Yeah.
And he showed it to me online, like at the store. And I immediately I felt my heart sink so deep into my soul. And then the guy handed me the game and I was like, all right, let's see what this is.
Yeah, I remember going to that actually. Yeah, I remember going to the Halo 5 midnight release. That was like my fuck it midnight release of like, wow, I forgot about that. Yeah, like I just kind of went like, yeah, I'm not really excited for this, but I'm going to go ahead and check it out anyway. And I think I played it for a night and that was really it. Like,
yeah, I mean, I played it for a while to be. I thought it was a fun game, but like that story infuriated the hell out of me, and I totally forgot that guy showed that to me. That was the first thing that was my first experience with Halo 5 proper, was that stupid fight scene out of context, and even in context, it was worse. But yeah, Ben, what about you? Your midnight release? I'm sure you've got like all sorts of crazy fucking.
I definitely went to my fair share. I mean, a couple Halos. Reach, I remember being the biggest one I was excited for. I don't know if it was because I was excited for Reach or I was just really excited for like that time, whatever.
Yeah.
Gears 1 and 2, I was there. Actually, I don't remember if Gears 1 had a midnight release, but I was definitely there for 2.
Yeah.
And then the memory I have that's the funniest of midnight releases is not necessarily related to the release, but I got engaged to my wife a week before Skyrim came out. And like it came out, I'm trying to remember, I think Skyrim came out on a Friday.
Yeah.
And we would always like the night we were able to get together was always like Thursday night. And I was like, hey, just so you know, like after I proposed, I'm like, just so you know, next Thursday, I'm not going to be around. I'm not going to be able to hang out. She's like, why? I was like, going to a midnight release for Skyrim. She's like, oh, that's fine. Can I come with you? And I was like, no, I'm going with the guys. like, this is a guy thing. I'm sorry.
No, get the fuck out.
Yeah, she was totally, in fairness, she was totally fine with it. She just wanted to hang out with me, especially because I told her that like the night I proposed, planning to get together the next week because we lived like an hour apart from each other at the time. And so anyway, that was fun. And then the thing I remember most about like, well, you guys mentioned console releases. I've never been to a console release that I have bought the console, but I've been to 2 different console releases.
Really?
I had the Switch pre-ordered from like Amazon or something, but Dustin had his at GameStop, and I went with Dustin to get his Switch, and so I just went to the midnight release. And also, the same thing happened with the PS3. It wasn't with Dustin; it was with a different friend who got it. But I was like, I can't afford that. Like, especially at the age I was at the time, couldn't afford the PS3 when it came out. But the thing that most resonated with me about the midnight releases was always the environment surrounding them. And it wasn't necessarily just like actually being at the store, waiting in line. It was like we would always go out and get food or whatever, or go out for a drink or something like that beforehand. And then most of the time, I feel like that we ever went out to midnight releases. After the fact, we would go to like the local 24-hour diner and just like hang out for a couple more hours after we got the games. And it's like defeats the entire purpose. Because by the time you get home, you're definitely shot by then. But it was really just more about the like, well, this is the thing we're all going to go do and have fun. And I'm not necessarily going so I can play the game tonight. I'm just going because like that's the thing. It was the custom at the time, as the Simpsons would say. So that was a big one. But I wanted to ask you guys: have you ever been to a non-gaming midnight release?
No. In fact, I am so secluded that I have never even considered that being a thing.
That's right. You've never seen a movie. I forgot.
Yeah, right. So,
well, of course, there's the midnight movie theater releases. Yeah. But I used to work at a Sam Goody when I was in high school, which still the greatest job I've ever had. I don't know if it'd really be a good job, but as a high schooler who loved video games, movies, and music, it was perfect. Because I got like 40 or 60% off of everything. I can't remember, but it was insane.
Wow.
But on occasion, we would have midnight album release drops, which is so funny to think about. It's even more funny than thinking about a midnight release for a video game, since you can download them all now. But like with streaming and everything now, you can't even like fathom the idea of going and waiting in line at midnight at a store to get the new Tim McGraw album or something. But that stuff happened. That was crazy. And there, we'd be pumping it on the speakers, and people would come in and at midnight to get it, and they'd be like, "I don't want to hear it yet till I get home. I want to go home and listen to it in my living room." I was like, "Okay, well, this is what the company told us to do, so this is what's happening." But yeah, just the idea that there were midnight releases for CDs.
Yeah,
it is
insane to me.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it is crazy. Like I've been to a couple of midnight showings for movies, or like not necessarily. Yeah. I don't know if it's like a midnight showing or like the Thursday night kind of. It's not exactly at midnight all the time.
I think it used to be, and then it started changing to like 8 p.m., 9 p.m.
They basically do it so like the movie ends around midnight, which is like I think pretty solid. But I went to the closest thing that I can't remember like a specific movie that I went to the midnight like showing for, or like the night showing. I know I've been to them, but like they don't necessarily stick out to me as much as a game does. For whatever reason, I think I'm just more excited about games, to be quite honest. But like there's definitely been movies where like I saw I think Avengers Endgame. It was like I saw the first showing that they ever did, I think, at the Chinese theater in Hollywood, and that was fucking crazy because that was like that was nonsense. I think like some of the actors were there or something. Like I really don't know, but like it was fucking nuts. Like it was so many people.
Fever dream.
Yeah, it was cool though. Like it was definitely, it's one of those. It's the same thing as like a midnight release, I would imagine. Like even if you there's a video that I love of like I think it's the Halo 3 midnight release. There's like a really like in-depth like accidental documentary that this guy did where he's just like kind of like recording everybody, and everybody's excited. They're playing like Breaking Benjamin out of like car windows and like playing CRT, and people are just like, I remember this guy comes home with it and he records his roommate and he goes like, "Are you excited?" And he was like, "I mean, I wasn't before, but like I kind of just being around it is kind of exciting." And it was kind of like that situation, like in that theater at the Chinese theater for the Avengers. I was just like, yeah, I don't know if I care that much, but like I care a lot now. And like, people are like cheering and shit, and I'm like, this is kind of dope. I would never want this to be like, I would never want this every single time, but like as like a novelty like experience, like this is kind of dope. That this is like people are just like the contagious excitement, I think, of it. Yeah, really is really intoxicating, especially because I think oftentimes like negativity is very intoxicating. It's like very easy to like fall into like, oh, people like to feel negative about things, and so like to find like this overwhelming excitement and positivity that you could just like easily like envelop yourself in is like, it's really nice. Yeah, it's really dope. Even if it's for something that you don't really care that much about.
Have you guys ever seen a midnight release that had like an event kind of planned around it? Like, you always have the midnight release, but then like you'll have like one where the actors show up or something. Because again, in that Ackman video, he showed something. I was like, I couldn't fucking believe it. I think it was North Carolina had a Modern Warfare 2 midnight release where they had like a Humvee pull up, and they had like they created a war zone. They were throwing fucking flashbangs.
Oh,
they got into a GameStop, like extracted a hostage. They had like fake dead bodies in the ground. I was like, this would like bring so much police on site with just today's culture. But it was just looking at it, I was like, this is fucking unbelievable. They did all of this for a midnight release, then like brought out the actors and stuff. And it was just like in this one random town in the Carolinas, and like that was it. And I've never been to a midnight release like that where it was like a special event or like something crazy was going on. Have you guys?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I remember it wasn't that crazy, but I remember doing the Halo 4 midnight release. I've been to a lot of the Halo ones, but the Halo 4 midnight release, I remember there was like a tournament in the GameStop or something that you could, I think, if you want, like basically you were in line, but like you would have a place in line, and then there was a tournament kind of going on throughout the night, and if you won the tournament, and there were like many brackets, so it was like there was a tournament from like, I don't know, 8 to 9, or like 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, and if you won the tournament, I don't think it was like necessarily that specifically strictly timed, but like those were the time stamps, and if you won, you would get a copy, and you could just leave. Yeah, it was like, that was fucking dope. Yeah, like it was like really simple. Really cool. Like, I don't know if that was like, I don't know, sanctioned or whatever you would call it, but like, you know, God, like, dude, that was a really cool fucking idea, and I appreciate the hell out of that GameStop for doing it. I can't remember. I was still in New York at the time, so I can't remember which one this was at. I can't. They all kind of blend together. It was one of those two in the mall that I was talking about earlier, but really cool.
Dude. That unlocked a memory, because there was a place called Play and Trade. I'm sure you remember it, Chris. There was a place called Play and Trade. Yeah. And that was like my substitute for GameStop, because they did midnight releases, but there was like typically no one there. So like for Skyrim, I went there, and I was by the way, Skyrim, only person there. And like, they were like, yeah, since you're the only one here, they gave it to me like an hour early. It's fucking incredible. But then you just unlocked the memory. They had a Modern Warfare 3 tournament, and I didn't have the money, so I just went with my friends who were excited for it, but I didn't pre-order it. And honestly, I'm glad I didn't, because I think MW3 is awful. But there was a tournament there playing, and my friend who was in it was winning, and he was doing like really well, and he got to like the finals, and if he won, he was going to give me the free copy, because like, you know, then I would have been able to play, because he already had his money down on it. He ended up losing, but I forgot about that, because Play and Trade, apparently, I have to look into it because it was just hearsay, but I think it got shut down because they were like giving out games early a lot. And like when they got sued, it was like the way they got sued, it was like multiplying the cost of the game by X amount of times or days they gave it out early. And the amount of money just completely bankrupted them.
That's crazy.
And so, yeah, at least that's what I remember hearing. I have not actually fully looked into it. Just I remember hearing that and be like, that makes sense, because they were just so loose with things there. Like they would just be like, yeah, go ahead, take it. Like with Skyrim, they were like, go ahead. Like because they just wanted to go home.
Yeah, the thing that I remember about that plane, it's funny. Like I was looking through my Google Docs history, and the first Google Doc in my entire Google Doc history is an application to Play and Trade. And it's still there.
I applied as well, bro. I applied as well.
I was. They didn't care, I guess. Yeah, they didn't like me, but I was so stoked like to have a game store that close, because like the GameStops were like a little bit further away from. You would have to go to like Walmart or something to get like something closer to. And I hated getting anything at Walmart. So having a game store that close, and they shut down like so quickly. But I remember there was a place called, oh my God, what the fuck was it? It was in the South Hills. It was called like Game On or fucking fuck me.
Was it the Game Exchange?
No. Damn it. I'm going to have to ask my friends about this, because it was literally just a bunch of TVs in like, and you could just play games there. They had tournaments there. And I remember loving that fucking place. It was around like, it was South Hills Mall, like next to Media Play and stuff. I just, I miss those stores. And I, to be fair, like I see a couple of those around. Like there's like these weird, like, gaming places where like it's not even like a store that you would buy games at, but it's just like a place to play. And I'm like, I don't know exactly what the market here is for this. This seems really confusing.
I remember like a Game Exchange, because I actually have a couple of games in my collection I got from there, and like I distinctly know that because I have like the stickers on them for the dirt cheap price I got them all for. Like I got it's not like a crazy expensive game by any stretch, but I got like Naruto Uzumaki Chronicles with like the manual, the trading card it came with, like all these bonuses for like $1.50. I'm like, you just couldn't find that nowadays. Like that place that place must have gone under because it was just so dirt cheap. But I don't know the one you were talking about. But yeah, we always had like random competitors cropping up for like, I guess we had like a gamer centric community or something, because like I feel like a lot of game stores just popped up near us. Like, but yeah, I always ended up. I did migrate to Walmart though. It's so funny you say like you wouldn't go to Walmart, because for me, eventually, like part of my midnight release process, like nowadays I would kill to be on a midnight release line, right? Like I'd kill to have that hour wait and everything.
Yeah.
But back then, in the thick of it, you were looking at how to optimize, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna go to Walmart and get this early because there's no line. They just grab it out of the kiosk for me, give it to me, and I'm home way quicker, and like I can leave way later, et cetera, et cetera. And even sometimes Walmart, because these employees don't know what the fuck's going on, so I just feel like, yeah, like I'm here for this game, and they like go grab it like 2 hours early for me. I'm like, nice, because I was already out at that point, so why not try? Yeah, but it kind of by naturally how I was approaching the midnight release, it going to like the preloading on your console, it makes a lot of sense. But I miss those days, man. It was so fun to look forward to. Again, just I can remember like each one specifically. I remember going to a double feature midnight release, and it was NBA 2K13 and Resident Evil 6.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so that was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun
It's
too.
fun. Yeah, it's funny that like, yeah, because Actman made that video like kind of recently, I think.
Mhm.
And I remember I was actually working on like a similar, like I wanted to do like an actual like on the street kind of like documentary about it. And I remember like getting like cameras together and like, and it was like people was like, I'm going to book a camera person for this day. Because I wanted to get in specifically, I wanted to go to the Doom, Eternal, and Animal Crossing midnight releases.
Oh my God, I remember that. Oh,
I really wanted to do it, and I remember being like, okay, this is gonna be. I feel like this is a weird one, because I feel like there's a lot of excitement for both of these, and it's such a weird group of people. I want to go and see like how strong this is, like how many people show up still, compared to like some old footage. And I'm like, yeah, I'm so excited. And then the world shuts down. And then nobody wants to go anywhere with anybody. Then everybody's wearing masks. Nobody wants to talk. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Everything's ruined.
Forgot that was like a big marketing thing for both of them, though. Like the Doom Animal Crossing thing on the same day. I totally
super smart
on that.
That is, I think that's like I have a weird. I don't know if it's necessarily like a Stockholm kind of thing, but I have like a weird nostalgia for like the very beginning of the pandemic. And I think it's because of that stuff. It's like the weird, like, okay, it starts immediately, and then immediately after, it's like, oh, here's this weird fucking Doom Animal Crossing energy. That's like,
it was kind of a fun time for games, because that's really what got us all through it. Like, it was the pastime. It was the thing to look forward to. Like, for me, certainly. Like, that was like just how I marked days on the calendar, and just things to, no longer was I going out and looking forward to things to do there. It was like, what can I do in my house that's exciting? And so, I feel like that's why it worked for us. Like 2020 was kind of awesome in that way. I mean, 2020 was also a pretty damn good year for games. And it also had like stupidly like wild and bad ones like Avengers and Godfall. Like, it just had
oh my God. I forgot
like
about
Godfall, the looter slasher, new console generation. I don't know. It was a weird year, right? Like, I'm jonesing for the next console generation. I feel like gamers just need kind of like a reset. Get some optimism going again. I feel like we started off in a jaded position. So this whole console generation has been relatively jaded. We just got to get back to the fun energy. Obviously, AAA developers need to do a better job too. But yeah, man, I really miss those times. Have you guys been to a bad midnight release? I know we've talked about a lot of good. Have either of you been to like a bad midnight release or like a dud? Like, oh, I thought more people would show up. Because part of the fun is seeing people there. Or like you saw something cringy.
The worst one that I can think of is that Halo 5 one By the way, a stranger did that. Like a stranger turned to me and showed me, he's like, hey, did you see this? Wasn't even like somebody that I went with or somebody that I was talking to. Like no one seemed excited. Like some people were excited, but like I've been to Halo midnight releases. I've seen people excited about Halo, and it was just like such a different. It was just like a
you were at a funeral.
Yeah, it was tentative because like I think I could be mistaken, but I don't think so. I'm pretty good with release times and dates, but like I'm pretty sure this was like a year after the Master Chief Collection. And so you had Halo 4, which was like a lot of people liked. I personally hate for like a myriad of reasons. I want to do like a whole fucking 2-hour video on that. But and then the Master Chief Collection comes out. It's like, oh yay! And it's broken for 7 years. So like, the Halo 5 was like, all right, let's I guess let's see what they got cooking. And everybody was just like, everybody felt, because like, dude, you're not going to go to a midnight release and it's just going to be people like, yeah, I just figured I'd check out Halo. I heard about it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, right.
Like
right.
it's all people who know about that. It's all people who probably went to the midnight release for the Master Chief Collection and went home and couldn't play it for months. So it's all these people with this like, I hope so.
I feel like out of trauma, I blocked out what happened with Master Chief Collection because I remember getting it and like playing the campaigns, and I must have just not done the multiplayer or something. Like I feel I missed that whole window where it was like,
bad. It was
awful. Yeah, I remember all the statements. And I remember that kind of put me off from continuing to play it, but I never had, like, when I think about it hard, I'm like, I don't know if I had like that direct experience of Master Chief Collection just not working.
Oh, dude, man, I was covering it at the time. Basically, like that was my entire channel for like a while. Like I was just like covering like what the how is this? I remember specifically they had like whenever you would get in first, it would say Firth. It would say Firth place, like 1th. I remember like, oh my god, how is everything so broken? And the reason I remember it so vividly is because like, dude, the campaigns were fine for me. I know some people had like crashes or whatever, but like for me the campaigns were fine. But I remember I went to. Oh, I think I went to that midnight release and I blocked it out, I think, because it was so traumatic and horrible. But like I went to it and it was exciting beforehand because you're like, dude, I'm so excited. This is going to be so cool. 60 frames. This is going to be dope as fuck. And then you get home. And I remember I went with my friend who I drove to LA with like a year later. He's my like best friend in the world. I think we met because of this game. And so we went over to my house and I had a whole setup for multiplayer. Like we were going to jump in and play a bunch of games until like God knows how late in the day, and just never did. Like the whole plan of the night was completely fucked because we got home, we installed it because you're not gonna put the disc in the fucking console and it's gonna work right away. Those days are gone, so you have to wait to install it, which took like 45 like minutes to an hour. And so you're already waiting, you're jonesing, and then you get in and then you go onto the servers and then they don't work. And you're like, okay, I'm going to reset my router, just hoping, just grasping at straws, hoping that it's you, you know?
You're the one who can break the seal.
Yeah, like hoping it's like, maybe this is a me problem. Because they wouldn't just put out... I remember, like, it was inconceivable to imagine that this game would come out and it would be as broken as it was. I remember being like, it must be me. Like, it must be maybe my machine is broken. It was every excuse that I could find that was like, it can't be the game because they wouldn't do this. Like, they wouldn't do this on purpose. And just I think we tried from like literally like 12:30 at night when I got home till like 3 a.m. and not a single game. We couldn't connect. Everything was ruined. I was like, I guess we'll go to sleep.
Yeah.
And it was the most
that's bad when a game kind of forces you to sleep.
It was the most disappointing experience. I actually just forgot that I even went to that one. Yeah. It's how disappointing it was. But yeah, that's easily the worst one. Easily.
Batty, I don't know about a bad release other than like sometimes you'd go and they'd be like, all right, here. And then nobody else is like, there's very few people there and everybody who's there has it pre-ordered. Yeah. Like those are just boring ones. But the only one I ever went to, it was a combination of cringy and disgusting. It was the last release I think I ever went to. Not because of this necessarily, just the way it worked out. It was for Spider-Man 2018 on PS4. And I went and there were many people dressed up like Spider-Man, as you would expect. But there was this one specific trio of people, and I almost said a couple, but it was more of a throuple. And, Spider-Man's suit is not particularly great for people who are not slender build. I'm by no means a small man, but these three people in particular were very, very large people, all wearing, Spider-Man outfits. The woman was wearing, slutty Spider. I think she actually referred to herself as slutty Spider-Man or something like that. I'm like, God forbid you just be Spider-Woman. You gotta be slutty Spider-Man. You gotta bastardize my boy like that. And they were just basically the whole time we were outside waiting for them to open the doors, we're just trying to pick people up to join their little throuple. And to bring people in. So, and I mean, like, there's somebody out there for everybody. You know, everybody's into something. But I'm like, I just could not believe the audacity with which they were just walking around,
just trying to pick people up at a midnight
and
release.
The way that people were responding. And I was the mayor at this point, and I'm standing outside of this GameStop at midnight. Well, it was like 11 o'clock by that point, with these 3 incredibly large people dressed as Spider-Man trying to pick people up, and I'm like, I might just need to leave. And eventually, the manager actually came out and asked them, "Please stop bugging people because they got complaints." But that was the cringiest one. I mean, you always have like the smelly gamers and the the weirdos and everything. Like, we're all weirdos to some extent, but you always had some awkwardness.
Yeah,
just to be expected. But that was like above and beyond anything else I'd ever experienced at a midnight release.
That is incredible. I think the worst is for me when you go to a midnight release and there's no one really there except for me. In my case, there was one person I did know. It was like someone I'm not like crazy about. And you're there online. You just like are practically forced to speak to one another for that hour. Until my social battery wore out. And I said, "Hey, man, I actually forgot something in the car." And I just like left and drove around for like 20 minutes. I was like, there's no fucking line. Like, I don't have to do this. And then just like came back with like McDonald's. I was like, yeah, I decided to get food while I was out, and just see you, dude. Yeah. Good talking.
No.
The strategist just kicked in right there. I had to escape. But that'd be like it. I feel like I've been lucky where when I think back on midnight releases, I was probably the dude at one point who made people at the Xbox One midnight release uncomfortable because I was in survival mode. I don't know if I have a picture of this outfit. I'll have to look, but I wore, and I can remember it to this day because I looked in fucking sane. Like, you should have arrested me. I had a balaclava on, so my whole face was covered. I had a Vault-Tec like hoodie, and then I had like giant fucking Xbox pajama pants on, dude. Like, and I was wearing like moccasins. Like, I just looked like a criminal. And I gotta see if I can find the picture because I took a selfie because I went to the subway bathroom and I was like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick. So I was like, oh man, I look kind of ridiculous. This is hilarious. But like, not thinking about just how like mildly distirbing I probably looked to everyone
around me.
How it
impacted other people.
Yeah. Like, oh, this guy might do something unsafe and unhinged. I'm just like, because it was cold at the time. I was like, I'm just trying to stay warm, man. But I might have been that person. I might be a story in someone else's midnight release household. Like, remember that guy with the balaclava who just was like number 3 online for the Xbox One? What a fucking weirdo, right? So maybe plot twist, it was me all along.
Yeah.
That description is crazy. That outfit sounds
I'm looking
nuts.
for a photo now to see if I can find it. We can proceed, but
you know what's crazy about that though is that like it sounds like a skin that you would just be able to get in a Call of Duty game now. Like, it just sounds like, why not? No Russian in a fucking in Xbox pajama pants. Oh my god.
Some of the early Call of Duty releases, people would come with like fully in tactical gear and bring their weapons. And I remember, like, I've been around guns my whole life. I've never been scared, but I was there a couple times and I was like, that guy got a real gun? Like, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that guy's got a real gun. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not worried about my life here, but also, like, why is that guy got an actual gun here?
It's one of those things where it's like, I feel like if you respect guns, you wouldn't bring it to a midnight release. So that's the only thing that would make me eerie about it. It's just like,
right. That's a very good point.
I'm not afraid of guns, but in this context, I'd be like, I'm going to keep my distance from this feller. Because I don't know, man. That's great. And some of those fake guns look legit from a distance. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
especially like the airsoft ones.
Yeah.
A lot of the airsoft ones can look pretty realistic.
Yeah. If you don't see that orange tip, it's kind of like
right.
It's from a distance, they look pretty convincing. Do you actually like have the image that you're looking for?
I'm digging for it right now. I could totally see a world where I was like embarrassed of myself and deleted it, but I'm digging right now. Trying my best.
I've absolutely done that. I've absolutely been on Facebook and like done like on this day and seen like a photo where I'm like, nope.
Yeah,
that's
we don't need that.
We don't need this in the annals of history.
I have my Xbox One. Yeah, November 20. Yeah, I got Dead Rising 3, Rise, Son of Rome, and Call of Duty Ghosts. I hated Ghosts, man. Yeah.
Ghost was not great. I feel like
because I bought it twice. I had it on the 360, and everyone was like overhyping that the next gen version would be amazing, so I bought it again. I think that's why I forgot. That's a repressed memory.
Ooh.
I don't have this
rough.
photo, man. What happened? I'm gonna have to dig hard for it. I'm sure it's like on Twitter or something. I can see myself being dumb enough to post it.
It's like,
hey everyone.
Man. Yeah, no, fucking the midnight release. Like, I really miss it. It is one of those things where it's like it is kind of a mess of inconvenience. It is technically annoying to do, and it's a lot less convenient than like, I can play it exactly at midnight. Over here on the West Coast, you play shit at like 9 p.m. And it's like, this is great. Like, who cares? I mean, I remember that was one thing that I remember. It's like even the midnight releases here that are at the store happen at like 9 p.m. because it's like, countrywide, same time. But yeah, like I still miss that, like that contagious sense of like community and like excitement, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't think there's really an easy. I think that's just gone forever, which is kind of sad.
That's the sad part. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really see a world where like for some reason that like reignites, because I think people are too. And by the way, when I say people, I'm including myself in this. I think people are just like too married to the concept of like extreme convenience and extreme comfort. To the point where it's like, why the fuck would I? Realistically, like, why would I go and wait in line for something I could get immediately with no wait? Like, it's
like you gotta understand why it's been phased out at this point.
That 2020 time period you were talking about, Maddie, where we all like, it was such a good time for gaming, and that's what got a lot of us through and everything. I think that, in hindsight, that's probably also like absolutely sped up the death of the physical games. It definitely killed. I mean, they were already dying before that, but it definitely killed midnight releases. Like, and maybe that's okay. Maybe moving forward, it's totally fine, or it's just different. But I definitely see that as a big turning point, along with technology and everything, that started the big time shift towards digital. Now you're seeing, the vast majority of people buying all digital, which, hey, I'm all about choice with games, whatever you want to do. But I still like going to the store and actually getting my game, buying it, picking it out of the case. Like but probably soon that won't be the case anymore.
It's a good tactile experience. Like, I definitely, I think there's a couple of reasons why I think I kind of fell off of physical media, and I think it's really because I moved so much that packing all that shit was such a pain in the ass. I couldn't, like, most of my boxes were just physical games, like basically, like everything else I could really like break down into like 3 or 4 boxes, but like my games were like, no, that has to be like an entire fucking world. So I was like, when I moved across the country, I was there. My parents were like, "Are you taking your games?" I was like, "No." I'll put them all in a binder and then call it a fucking day. And then at that point, like when I was out here, I was like, am I going to build a physical library out here? It's like, no, because it's going to be a pain in the ass to bring back if I ever go back.
Yeah.
So like,
right.
That was a big factor. And then also, honestly, the whole installation thing. Like, I remember I loved the feeling of like going to a midnight release, specifically on 360. Like 360 was perfect.
Yeah.
In this way. Like I can't, outside of the red ring that died 54% of the time. That machine was like the perfect fusion of next gen convenience and old gen convenience, where like the PS3, I remember using a PS3 for a little bit and I fucking hated it because I would get a game and then I would put it in and it would be like installing your game. And I'm like, fuck this.
That's the slowest OS of any. Yeah.
Anytime I do a retro rebound video for a PS3 game, I have to like literally throw it in and go like kill almost an hour of time before it finishes installing. It's ridiculous. I remember PS4 had a little bit of that problem.
Yeah, I mean, well, now both of the consoles do that, where it's just like, okay, like you get your physical game and then you got to install it, and I'm like, man, like I really miss that feeling of like having the HD, like and like the internet connectivity of like next gen with 360, but then also like the convenience of like, oh, the disc's in your machine and it runs automatically. Like the second I get home with Skyrim, that I'm excited about, the second I'm sprinting up to my room, turning the thing on before I even turn the light on. Putting that thing in and I'm playing within like seconds, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And even if there were patches, they weren't mandatory to be able to even turn the game on.
Right. And so like just the momentum that would be like immediately like squashed by that install on PS3 and then PS4 and Xbox One, just kind of like, I don't know, like the experience of like running home with a game and like playing it immediately just kind of that went away. So it's just like, well, what reason do I have now? So like, I don't know, I might as well just install it at midnight and play it. That's actually that's closer to the experience in some way. And so yeah, I think it just kind of killed it for me. Like I still get like physical games every now and again if I care about like what the game is. Like I think I got the Alan Wake 2 physical, even though I bought it digital already. Just because that's a game that I think is fucking great, especially that DLC is so good. But yeah, I don't know. I do miss the cases though, and also the cases got worse. That's another thing too. Like the
like
stuff that you would get,
graphic design on the front. Yeah,
the graphic design. Like you didn't get reversible covers no more. You didn't get fucking the manual with like a lot of detail in it. You didn't get like a booklet or like a map or like a poster. Like it all just kind of became just like here's Xbox Live 3 months. Here's PS
the least
Plus.
we can put in here. Yeah.
Yeah, here's the absolute bare sometimes they just don't put fucking anything in there. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, great. What did I pay for? I paid for a disc that installs something from the internet. Cool.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. It's kind of ruined. I think Switch is really the only like platform that I get physical games on still. And that's like pretty rare because I barely touch my Switch at this point.
They have patches, but it's a lot less. But the thing about the Switch is, at least with a PS5 game, you open it up and there's like it looks like the case is filled. It's just a disc. There's no paper inside or anything, but it's just the disc. So, that's kind of sucks. But then the Switch, you get it and you're like, you open it up and you're like, oh, where's the game? Oh, it's way down here in tiny little in the bottom.
Yeah,
like I didn't even need this whole case.
I hate
but
when
at least the whole game is on the cartridge usually, at least.
I hate when you open the case and you see through the case and like on the reverse side of the cover art is like all the health and safety warnings. Makes me so. I mean, obviously, I'm a fiend for the complete in box stuff, but like, I'm not expecting a chunky manual. But just seeing it, like, we're so efficient that, like, heaven forbid that we print this out on a separate slip and just let the box art look as great as it does on its own. Like, you're immediately just hit with health and safety warnings. I fucking hate it, dude. It's like such a vibe killer to open the box, and it does make me a little like pissed off. Like, I will open and be like, I don't like this, but.
It just makes you sad
nowadays,
especially when you compare it to like some of the like I remember opening Skyrim for the first time and being like, just like you see that chunky map and the reversible cover on the other side, and you're just like, dang, this is it. Skyrim was so funny because I remember like all my friends went to the Skyrim midnight release, and this was before like I really played any of those games. I remember I was such an action fiend that I did not have patience for RPGs until way later. I remember playing Mass Effect 1 and Gears of War like 1 back to back, and I remember like, why the fuck would anybody play this? Why the fuck would anybody play Mass Effect? This plays like shit. It's like 12 frames a second. It sucks. And then later on I was like, oh, this is actually fucking amazing. But like I remember the same thing with like Fallout 3. Like I just like, well, I'm in a classroom taking tests. What the fuck? I'm in school already. Like why am
I hated Fallout 3 when I first played it.
Yeah, like me too. And Skyrim was that one that's like, I don't know. I don't know if I like Bethesda games really. Like I'm not into RPGs. Like I'm just not that kind of person, I guess. And then everybody, like I was in college at this time, like November 11th, 2011. I remember everybody. The day after, like no one showed up. It was crazy. Like I think my class was like, I think like 15, 20 people, and like only 3 people showed up, including me, to like one of the screenwriting classes that I was doing. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then I went over to my friend's house and they had like TVs set up. Like they had like 6 TVs set up in their basement. They were all playing Skyrim like independently. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is this game? Like, did I miss something?
That was a crazy time.
It was nuts. And then I remember being like, okay, this is clearly something that I have to understand. I was just too curious. I was like, because this is like a Halo level phenomenon where like people were just like just like vacating public spaces to play this thing for months. And so I was like, I have to see this. And then I went out and got it. And I spent like weeks like not taking care of myself. And it was great. It was awesome. Like that's really my first Bethesda experience, really. And I'm kind of sad that I didn't go to the midnight release for that because I bet that was sick.
Yeah, I regret going to a quiet midnight release for that one personally. I feel like that was
really?
for Skyrim. That's what you're talking about.
Oh, right. Because you went to the plane.
Went to plane trade. So yeah, it was like I was the only one there. I was like, oh, this is gonna be like a little game release. Okay, it's fucking like biggest game they've ever done.
Yeah,
because it felt like it. Like I feel like it took the world by storm after. But like when I was looking it up, man, like I remember we had like a computer graphics class, and like I did not do my work. I just read and reread Skyrim previews and flunked the class. You know, I guess it all worked out in the end because you know I built my career off BGS games for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I remember being obsessed and no one was talking about it in my circle or anything like that. I remember telling my friends like, you got to check out Skyrim. Like this thing looks amazing, and they were like, no, kind of looks whack. And then like the hype kicked in, and everyone just had to go buy it. But yeah, I remember like at the midnight release, dude, I was the only one there. So I wish I went to a bigger one because that game's so important to me. Like I can like literally remember the moment I started it. Remember like my first video for it popping off. Like I just have so many memories baked in that game. It's so special.
Yeah. I do remember hearing that I do remember hearing that the wait was crazy though at certain places.
Believe it.
Like I remember people
like remember how they revealed it on Spike TV? Like Todd Howard came out with all of like the gray beards and like they all had like the hoods on and like they announced the game. I think it was at the Game Awards in 2010 or something like that. Like
maybe.
Yeah, they did something fucking crazy. And
I don't remember. It's so strange. Like my attention on the industry was so selective at that point. Like, because I was like, where's the games that I care about? Like, I don't know. Like everything else kind of like bled out. I don't think I started really paying attention to everything until like probably like after or like around the time that I got out of college.
Yeah.
You know, where I was just like, oh yeah, there's like a whole fucking, you know, I would watch IGN and stuff like every now and again, but like, I don't know. It was crazy. It was a crazy time. But yeah, I don't know, Maddie, how you
feeling good?
Feeling good.
Yeah. Appreciate the time we spent on the topic more than I expected. But yeah, missed the midnight releases. Amazing time. I hope those who are listening who have never been to one, if you get the opportunity, go to one. Just see what it's like. You know?
Yeah.
Might be worth it.
Yeah.
I think still have them?
I'm yeah, they
Something
do.
Yeah.
Do they?
I think for Switch games, I think like because Switch is such a physical like still to this day, like people
you can't,
like buy.
Like I mentioned the double feature where like Resident Evil 6 was there. Like I don't think you'll get that, but if you went to like Pokemon, like the last couple of midnight releases I've gone to were like Pokemon, and those are still pretty. Those are exciting because it's also that's the thing that I miss. You get to actually know who the audience is a little bit, right? It's like a small sample size, but like a Pokemon midnight release is like it's all adults. It's all people honestly older than me, and I always found that so interesting because obviously it's like marketed as a kid series, but I think most people who buy and play them are fucking adults who are just like obsessed with it from their childhood. So that's the other thing is just identifying who the audience is. Like who, like what's the like in Call of Duty, when I got to a Call of Duty midnight release, it was like, who the fuck am I going to be thinking of when someone like hose me down in this game? Like, what am I going to be thinking of? I'm thinking that asshole in the midnight release line. Like that's the player profile for me. Anyway, satisfied.
Have you been playing the new Call of Duty at all?
I haven't. Yeah, it's been really good.
I've been getting washed, man.
I mean the spawns are awful.
Are they? Okay, good. Like I'm glad I feel like I'm getting like maybe I'm just not good at like I'm 30, all right? Like maybe like this I'm geriatric when it comes to like first person like competitive PvP stuff, but like man, I'm getting waltzed on.
I have a theory. I shared it on Duke. I had a theory that with Black Ops 6, the reason that Call of Duty has moved into elims instead of like kills, deaths, assists is because you're actually dying way more. It's like actually your kill and death counts are closer than they've ever been. Because I was dying a shit ton too, but I was getting a lot of elims. So I'd finish like a match like 40 and 20, and I'm like, oh, that's like that. My new form of like that's pretty good is like dying 20 times. I remember that used to be like a heinous mark on your record. Like I died 20 fucking times. That's ridiculous. And so I think they added the elims in the way they did so that, you know, it masks a problem clearly with the game where you're like dying way fucking more and everyone feels horrible. But also these games they do skill-based matchmaking. It's like really sweaty now. Like everyone in my lobbies were using XM4s. Everyone except like one person who was sniping and was a god tier quickscoper. So I do think the skill ceiling's gone up a little bit, but I do think Black Ops 6 has a spawn issue and definitely a map issue. So
yeah. Well, we'll leave the game talk to Summon Sign. I don't want to step on any toes here.
Sure.
But I will say the campaign's pretty fucking cool. I'm
excited to try it out.
I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
Me too.
But all right, let's move on to Ben. Ben's got a little topic for us. Let's throw it over to you.
I want to talk about a problem plaguing our society, and that is napping. All right. Napping is for bitches. All right. That's my opinion on the subject. No, in all reality, like my whole life, I've had a problem with like people are always talking about, oh, I took a little nap or something like that. And there was a time, don't get me wrong, when I was like 14 through 16, somewhere in there, I was like also maybe at the time like had a part-time job after school, and your body's going through all sorts of changes and everything, and you need more rest than normal. But my entire adult life, I know people who were like, oh, I can just lay down for like a 15-minute nap and I feel great, or other people who are like, oh, I'll take an hour or two nap a couple times a week and I feel great, and I just don't. Like anytime now, in fairness, I have always required a little bit less sleep than most other people. As I'm getting a little older, I'm almost 37 now. As I'm getting a little older, I do notice I could use a little more sleep from time to time. But maybe only like once a month will I sleep more than 6 hours. Maybe. And that's when I'm like really zonked. And that's not because I'm like, oh, Ben's so busy or anything. That has been the case in the past. But right now, it's just because that's just what my body does. Like I wake up, and maybe I get tired throughout the day, whatever. But if I take a nap, it's because I accidentally fell asleep on the recliner while I was, watching a YouTube video with the kids or something. Not because I tried to. Because anytime I've tried to in the last 15, 20 years to take a nap, I've heard all the tactics. If it's 10 minutes, if it's 15 minutes, you're like, oh, just a quick little power nap. You'll be fine. No good. Hour long. No good. I got to sleep like a whole night's rest to actually feel okay when I wake up. So I can't understand this idea of napping. And I know people who are like, oh, I require a lot of sleep. I sleep like 8 to 9 hours at night. Plus I usually take like an hour nap in the afternoon. I'm like, what? Where are you getting this time to be able to sleep for 10 hours a day? I don't understand it. I understand people who want or need more sleep like at night. But I'm like, you also got to take you got to sleep again halfway through. How weak is your pathetic body that like halfway through the day, you're like, I can't do it anymore. I just got to lay down. So like, there's part of me that's a little bit jealous because don't get me wrong. There's days where I'm dragging by like 3:00 in the afternoon. And I'm like, I'd love to be able to lay down for 20 minutes and feel better, but it just doesn't work for me. I can't. I can't do it. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about naps, or just, I guess just, sleeping in general? Maddie, I know you once made the statement that and I think you've changed your routine a little bit since then, but I one time heard you make the statement, if I wake up and it's not double digits on the hour of my clock, I have to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
But does that translate into napping as well for you?
No, dude. I when I nap, like it is a big event because it's never a thing that happens. Yeah, I'm in your boat, Ben. I am married to a woman who is like what you just described. Like actually she was up all night baking for her business, and she was like went upstairs at 12 and she's like, I'm gonna take like an hour nap, which makes more sense. Like she gets up for like,
yeah, if she was up all night, that's different.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So that makes more sense. But like she'll also be like doing her dough, and she'll be like she'll like literally be driving and just pull over the road into like a parking lot. She might be like narcoleptic. She'll be like, I'm just gonna sleep for 15 minutes and then like go. She won't do it when like we're together, but when she's by herself, like she'll be like 5 minutes around. She's like, I'm so tired. I just need to sleep right now for like 15 minutes. But that is what I have married into. So I wish I could nap as much as her because I think sometimes my body needs it. Yeah. The last time I did though, it was accidental because what happened was I had bad allergies and I took an allergy relief medicine, not realizing it was drowsy. So I'm like sitting here working and I'm making like typos. I'm like, why do I feel like I'm on fucking drugs? And so I look at the box and I'm like, I'm like, oh, I am on drugs. So I like took a like 2-hour nap because I accidentally induced myself into that. But, I do wish I could nap more. I think it's for me, like the pressure of time. Like if I don't maximize like what's within my day, I always feel like I'm missing out on something that could benefit me later. And it's a tough balance. I think about it a lot. Like, I'm like, would I be more relaxed as a person? Would I would I be a more efficient worker? I think I'm already efficient, but like, would I be even more efficient worker if I was like resting more frequently? But I'm like, I feel like almost a machine, like 8 hours, you're good. Whatever that 8 hours is, like 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. or like, sleeping before 12 like you're supposed to and getting up early in the morning, whatever digits on the clock matters a little less now. It's like, oh, I got 7, 8 hours. Okay, we're good. I don't think I'll take a nap today at all. And that's just how my body's been wired. I don't know if it's for better or for worse, but that's kind of where I've ended up, man. I see how often my wife gets a nap and I'm like, that's so nice. Like sleep does feel good. But I don't know, man. Like when I lay down, it's not even like I'm tired or I'm like, yeah, I need this nap. So I just never do. That's where I ended up. But I'm curious about Chris. Chris, I can't see you being a napper personally.
Yeah, not really. Like there's definitely points in time. Like I've definitely had days where I'm just like, okay, I've worked a long time, and then for some reason I'll play a game that's like, I don't know if soothing is the right word, or like just kind of like not like, it's not like a bombastic experience, you know what I mean? Like it's like something like more quiet, like a Silent Hill, or like something like that. And for whatever reason, I'm so winded by the day that like I can feel myself like kind of falling asleep, and I'll be like, you know what? I'm just gonna take this opportunity to nap for a bit, I guess, because clearly my body's telling me like it wants to sleep for a little bit. And so it's a pretty rare occurrence, but it does it's never like I'm gonna go nap. It's usually like my body's not letting me not do this. My body's not letting me not nap, so I'm gonna go do it. I don't know if it happens really all that often. If I think this year it's happened a little bit more. I've just been it's happened more often this year than like previous years for sure, because I've been working a lot more. I've been shooting a lot. I have so many unfinished projects in Premiere that I'm trying to like pump out. I'm trying to get one out by election day before it's moot. But so I've just been like recording, and then we've picked up Snark Tank a lot more. I'm obviously like recording a lot more. Sacred's a lot longer than it used to be. There we go. I do Summon Sign sometimes, and then Constellation, obviously. So like, this is a lot more than I'm doing. So I think I'm just more tired in general.
Sure.
But like, I don't think I've ever said the words, I'm going to go nap, or I'm going to go take a nap. And like, I've been just like completely awake. Sure. Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know if for me, if it was common in high school, but there were definitely times in high school where I was like, like I said, your body, on top of like having a lot to do and running around all the time and playing sports and stuff, your body is also like going through a lot of different shit. So like there were definitely times in high school where I was like, I got home from school and I had to be at work in an hour. I'm going to go lay down for 40 minutes or something. But I think my biggest thing is just that I'm kind of jealous of people who, like, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm really tired. I'm really like feeling like I'm dragging. I'm going to sit down and just read a chapter of this book. Because I used to love reading. I used to read so much. I've talked about that in the past, but now if I do that, I know I'm about to fall asleep. Like that's the excuse for my body.
Yeah.
I think subconsciously my body's like, you should read, which really means you should take a little nap. And I mean, I'm that happens like once a month maybe that I do that, but I kind of wish I could just get that 20-30 minute power nap, as a lot of people call it. My cousin, who's a little older than me, he will be like, I gotta lay down for a minute, and then I'll turn around. I'm like, you're back. Couldn't you sleep? And he's like, oh no, I did. I feel great. I'm like, you were gone for 10 minutes. He's like, yeah, I just had to like lay down and nap, and then he's good for 8 more hours.
There's also the science of napping that I think put me off it in my like college days, and I just stopped doing it since. Like, oh, if you like go and lay in your bed and nap and you're flat, and that's technically worse than when you nap, you're supposed to be like sitting up a little bit. I'm like, okay, now we're like tweaking too much. It's like if you nap this long, like an hour or two, which maybe sometimes your body needs, like that's actually worse for your sleep and you're technically more tired after. I was just like, once I started to just read again, I'm not citing exact science, but I started to hear the ins and outs of like nap specifics. I was like, I'm not fucking doing this. Like I'll sleep whenever I'm tired. And that'll be that.
That's kind of, I'm jealous of people who can just choose to sleep when they want to sleep, quite frankly. Like I don't know how to sleep on purpose.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm always, every time that I've ever slept in my entire life, it's always been by accident. Like it's always
like you just lay in
like,
bed, it just goes black, and then you wake up and you're like, oh hey, okay.
Yeah, you're just
a
like,
new day, right?
I guess I did it. I don't know if I'm doing this right, but like, because I've seen people just be like, I'm gonna go to sleep, and then they lay down, and then within minutes, like 2-3 minutes, they're out, like cold, like, and I'm just like, how the fuck do you do that? How are you not thinking about like if you've driven today, like if you've displaced a car behind you, and if that person got into a crash, is it your fault? Like how are you not thinking about these like crazy like butterfly effect things that keep you awake until you just like can't? I don't know, man. Well, I don't know how to calm myself down enough to sleep on purpose. Like I think I just have to be exhausted to sleep.
My solution for that is exactly being exhausted, because like I very much, if you know, if I sit down and I'm tired and my mind's not active or something, I'll fall asleep. But if I'm like, okay, I need to set myself a bedtime. It's midnight. I'm going to bed, and I'm not tired. I will lay there for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah,
right.
So what I do now is like I go to
time.
Exactly, and that's kind of how I think my broken brain thinks. Like, oh, if you're resting, it's wasted time. Now I'm at the point where I try to, because I still have to get up in the mornings and do stuff, but now it's pretty much like I will stay awake and either keep working or keep doing whatever I'm doing until the point where my mind actively thinks I am tired. And at that point, I can generally lay down and go right to sleep. But if I go to bed because it's like, oh, I should go to bed right now, no chance. It's not happening for me.
Yeah, same. I can't. I'm so jealous of people who can do it. You know, it seems like such an amazing skill.
Is comfort a big deal? And that's like a dumb question on the surface, but like, is comfort a big deal? Like, I, for example, cannot sleep unless I am lying down. So on a plane, I did like a red-eye flight home from Cali, and I was so fucking tired, dude. Like I had an all-nighter and everything. I was so tired, but my body's just like, nah, dude, like you're sitting up. Sorry, like the most we can do for you is like you might lightly doze off into like a drooly trance and
embarrassingly snore on the plane.
Yeah, like yeah. I wish.
Snore yourself awake.
By the way, I had the perfect setup because this was an overnight flight, so empty row, dude. Everything you could dream of, like no one in my row. So I laid flat across the fucking seats, and but my knees were up, so I couldn't sleep because I'm too tall. So I'm like. I cannot sleep unless I'm either like completely hunched over to the point where I'm like, I look like a dead person, which you just can't do in a plane, or I'm laying completely flat. So for me, that also prohibits my napping because I have to like go and be somewhere flat. And the most times it's opportune to nap, like train ride home, plane flight, wherever. I can't sleep in those situations. So when I'm like around near my bed or whatever, it's like I'm usually like in my comfort zone. I'm awake, I'm active, I'm good. So does that affect your ability to nap? Can you guys sleep anywhere?
I can sleep anywhere.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, I can't sit. Like I have to trick my brain into thinking that I'm lying down. Like so, like if I'm on a plane, like I'm thankfully like short enough that like even if I get like just like one of those like JetBlue like even more space seats, which is like a little bit more expensive, but I think worth it for like the extra the extra bit that I get. Mm-hmm. Whereas like I can kind of pseudo stand and like kind of lay, so like my body's kind of
okay. I see what you're doing.
Outstretched. I'm not like hunched like I'm sitting. You know what I mean? Like I'm like technically flat, or as flat as I can be, and like kind of diagonal in the seat, and that'll be enough to like sometimes I can go to sleep. But like generally speaking, like I have to be comfort's like mega important. Like if I'm gonna be sleeping, like
I'm like so spoiled. Like I need a blanket that goes like up to my neck. You know, I need to feel like a little secure because I used to sleep with a security blanket for years. I don't know if anyone's ever tried it, but it's like the best thing ever. It's a weighted blanket, not a security blanket.
Like a weighted blanket.
Oh, dude, weighted blanket's crazy. So good,
dude. So good. What a game changer. My wife got it for me years ago, and like I've never gone back. Like I can't imagine sleeping without it because it's almost like it squeezes the anxious energy out of me at night. So it just ruins any ability for me to sleep anywhere else because like, oh, I need like 15 pounds on my chest right now. If I don't have that, this isn't going to work.
I had a weighted blanket for like a while, and then I had like sleep paralysis underneath it, and that was like I can't do that again. Yeah, like sure. I'm usually okay with that stuff because it's like whatever. I'm aware of what sleep paralysis is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I induced it on purpose once because I was just curious about it. But like having a weighted blanket over you in that kind of experience is crazy scary. And I was just like, I don't want this. I don't want that feeling again.
I get that.
But it is like, yeah, no, I need like a comforter, like a thick blanket. I need the temperature to be a certain way. Like there are nights where I just can't. I'm tossing and turning because I can't sleep because it's like it gets too hot too quickly and then it gets too cold too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I got really good at it actually. I actually got really good at like falling asleep for like a brief period of time when I was crashing. Like when I moved out here initially, and I was kind of like crashing on a couch looking for work. I would sleep on the couch in my friend's living room, and it was like a really comfortable couch, but it retained heat like crazy, and it was like a dire situation. Like it was just like it was Los Angeles, like during the drought, like 75 degrees at night, lowest. Like opening a window doesn't help. They're not turning the AC on because everybody's struggling. Nobody wants to pay a lot of money. So like we're sitting, I'm like baking. And I remember like the solution that I had was like, okay, I'm going to shove my blanket in the freezer. I'm going to shove my blanket in the freezer. And then like, I'm going to leave it in there for 10, 15 minutes. And then I'm going to run, grab it out, wrap myself in it, and just try to fall asleep before it got uncold.
It's hot.
Yeah, and it worked. It worked a couple times.
It reminds me of an Instagram reel I saw. I don't know if it was like a joke or not, but this dude was like asleep at his friend's house. And I mean, he's fucking covered in sweat, dude. And he's like, hey, man. He wakes up. He's like, the AC doesn't work. He's like, oh, I can tell. He's like,
that is one of my favorite videos ever.
Yeah, it's so good.
I love it because he looks so out of it. He's like, oh, you ain't got no AC? There's a part where he like bites his shirt out of desperation.
It's like he's literally drinking the sweat from his shirt.
Yeah.
So
you ain't got no AC. I gotta find that video. That video cracked me the fuck up when I first saw it. Oh, you ain't got no AC.
It's funny. So I mentioned I can sleep anywhere, or in any position, which is pretty much true. But that doesn't mean I sleep well, first of all. But so that's true. Like I can be sitting up on the recliner and fall asleep or whatever. But if I lay down, like if I go to bed to sleep, I gotta have like the blanket's got to be flat. I got to be comfortable. I can't have like one blanket longer than the other. Like my brain shifts into a different mode where it's like, no, everything has to be sorted. I can sleep in my blue jeans and, with 10 people around if I fall asleep in the middle of the living room on a Sunday afternoon watching a game or something. But if I go to bed, it's got to be like perfect. But that makes me think, you guys talking about heat makes me think about like, even if it's really hot, I still have to have a blanket of some kind on me.
Yeah.
I could get away with a sheet or a very light blanket, but generally a comforter. It could be 85 degrees and I'm still like, but I got to have a comforter.
Yeah, dude. People who sleep without a blanket are psychotic to me. I'm like they can just sleep out in the open. I'm like, don't you feel vulnerable? Like, is this my anxiety talking? Like, don't you feel like, I don't know. Like, I can't. I think my wife has done it before. I got to check, but like, yeah, she'll just like sleep, just like no blanket. Like I'll come into the bedroom at night and there's be like no comforter on her at all. I'm like, how? Like, how do you do this?
Yeah. Well, it's different once you get the sleep. You probably, if it's really hot, you're going to kick it off. Maybe you don't, that's
my body
fine.
just chooses to overheat. That's the problem.
Right.
I just wake up extremely
to go to sleep,
hot.
I got to have it.
Like in the morning. Like my body's like, we're not stopping for anything now.
Right.
We're already here.
Yeah, no, I can't. I need a heavy comforter. Like no matter what. Like it's why I usually like I blast the AC kind of. It's usually the one thing. It's like, listen, I gotta sleep. I will splurge on exactly this. You know what I mean? Like exactly like AC, like temperature regulation. Yep. I don't care how expensive it is. I don't care like what the cost is. Like I would rather eat less than like live in a situation where like, oh hey, my apartment is just room temperature the entire time and I'm gonna be sweating and I'm gonna be freezing. Like no, we're getting comfortable in here. And so like with the comforter I'm like, I'm gonna overheat, so I'm gonna blast the AC. And so I like every time people crash I have to be like, hey listen, I'm gonna give you can I have other comforters so you can use it, but like this will be frigid as fuck. And
my wife runs very cold.
Yeah.
And she will like even in the summer, she'll generally wear like an extra layer and have an extra blanket on top. I'm like, why do we have flannel sheets in the middle of August right now? But because of that, I also have like a window unit in our room that I'll turn on most of the time when it's pretty warm. And she'll be even in the summer when I need the window unit, she's bundled up, got like 3 layers of clothes, a Snuggie, 2 quilts. Like, and I'm like, what's the smallest blanket I have? What's the lightest blanket I have that I could put on and still feel comfortable because I'm not a psychopath.
Yeah.
But not be so hot that I can't stand it. But yeah, when I go to a hotel room and I'm not paying for it, it goes down even further. It's like 64. She'll walk in the room and be like, "What are we doing? Why is it so cold in here?"
Dude, I remember for Creator Clash, they put me in a hotel room. I don't think they knew this, to be fair, but they put me in a hotel room in Tampa, Florida in like May or April. I can't remember exactly what the month was. And the AC was broken.
Oh no.
And like I turned it on and like it would like leak. Like it leaked onto the carpet. Like it was and it wasn't making the room colder. It was just loud and just like dripping. And I remember being like, oh man, it is literally 82 degrees in this hotel room. Oh, this is hell. Like this is awful. And like that was the moment. It's like, oh, I cannot sleep. I just can't. I can't do it. Like I think the only reason I slept that night is because I literally passed out from nearly dying. You know, it's like I think I died temporarily a little bit, but it's just insane how it's important, man. It's important, especially if you're trying to sleep. Like you need that comfort. I think like anybody who can sleep without a blanket or just like, I don't care. I don't care. Whatever. Who cares? Like that's a scary person to me.
Yeah.
So Ben, how you feeling?
As long as Maddie doesn't tell Laylee that I said she and people who take naps are bitches, I am satisfied.
You got it, bro. Lip sealed.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh man. All right. Let's do the timestamp. I gotta remember to timestamp this stuff. Although it's not really that crazy for Constellation. All right. 31. Okay. Yeah, all right. So my topic is what the fuck? I already forgot. Oh yeah, guilty pleasures. But I kind of wanted to do this with like a little bit of a twist because I think like I looked back at like the previous episodes. I did a search just to see if this was already done. There was an episode about movies specifically, but it was done with like a very specific group of people, none of which are here today. So I figured like, yeah, I'll get away with it. I'll do it, whatever. But so I kind of want to set this up in a way like, okay, so there's guilty pleasures for sure. There's like, music, film, games, whatever. Like there's stuff that we all like that despite like, like universal disapproval. But is there like, I was trying to think of like what the term would be for a reverse guilty pleasure where it's just like something that like really should be something that's up your alley or really like should be like everybody who knows you would expect you to like this thing or like be like really into this thing and for whatever reason just doesn't work. It just doesn't hit. Like, is there anything like that? And either or, by the way, like it doesn't have to be one or the other. I'll open up first, and I had this realization after Joker 2, right? Where like I remember saying on a podcast, like I was actually really excited that it was a musical, and everybody was like, "What do you mean you like musicals?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love musicals. I think musicals are dope." And everybody was like, "Why?" And like, you don't seem like a musical person. I was like, "Do I not? I guess not." But like, I don't know what that means. I guess because it's like gay. Yeah. Like I don't know. Like that's my perception of the perception. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's like how do you like musicals if you're like a Gears of War fucking nut or something? It seems like a weird fit.
They're
I guess
fun. They're different. I don't know.
They're fun. They're cool. Like I loved. Like when I first saw Hamilton, I was like, this is sick. I saw In the Heights. I remember like a long time ago being like, I mean, honestly, like I feel like more people like musicals than think they do. I think people like the fact that everybody loves Disney, like those old Disney movies, and they're like, oh, I don't like musicals. Like, yeah, you do, you fucking idiot. What do you think those are? You think those are musicals just because they're drawn?
It reminds me of like when everyone hated anime in the early 2000s. They're like, well, Pokemon and Dragon Ball are great. I'm like, what do you think that is? Like,
yeah,
right.
that is,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Literally fucking
Yeah.
anime. Naruto's great. I'm like, okay, so you like anime?
But I remember coming out of that movie being like, the main disappointment that I had with Joker 2 was just like that wasn't really a musical. And I guess that was kind of the point. I guess I don't know. Joker 2 is weird. Like I don't know how I still don't really know how I feel about it. But I remember being excited, especially because like, dude, like, so there was an album that was put out for that movie. Like Lady Gaga put out an entire like,
Yeah.
and I'm a big Lady Gaga fan too, which also kind of shocks people. But like she had an album that came out, like it was called Harlequin or something, and it was presumably all the music that was going to be in the movie. And I listened to all of it and I was like, this is dope. All of it's just like old like show tunes, and she's doing a great job doing them.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, this is so good. It's so well done. I love like that old like Sinatra, like that. I don't know. I love that stuff. It's very ingrained in my. I think just also because I spent so much time in the city, it's kind of ingrained in me in a little bit. Same thing with like old hip hop from that era, but like, and then none of that music's in the movie at all, like at all. And you're like, what is going on? And so I remember people were making fun of me because I was like, you wanted it to be a musical? I'm like, yeah, I was stoked. I was stoked that it was going to be a musical. And I'm sure there's more stuff that'll come to me as we have this conversation. But I guess I wanted to throw it over to Ben first.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Well, first of all, I mean, we all know what's meant by the phrase guilty pleasures, but like, I'm not embarrassed about anything in my entire life.
Right, yeah.
So, for me, it's like, whatever. You can think that's stupid or, as Chris said, gay if you want. But it's fine with me. I don't care. But I don't know. Like, yeah, a lot of people think of me. A lot of my friends are like, oh, he's kind of a movie snob or a TV snob or a music snob or a coffee snob or whatever. And I'm like, well, I mean, I also like ridiculous action Michael Bay movies, and I'll drink coffee from a Keurig if that's the most convenient thing. And, you know, like I like the nicer things, the finer things, as it were. But I'm also just very ridiculously practical. Like I think, you know, Shawshank Redemption, I could probably talk about that movie for 14 hours, and it's only like a 2-hour movie. But I also think Step Brothers is one of the best movies ever made in the entire world. Yeah. So like I'm very much in the like, I like the stupid buddy comedies and stuff that people are like, oh, that's not a very good. I'm like, it's hilarious. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to tell you that even though I think it's an objectively bad show, I have still watched parts of Big Bang Theory and laughed.
Oh,
it's terrible. It's terrible. I know that. I can admit it. But I
was hoping for something like that. Exactly.
Yeah. I just want to clarify. Big Bang Theory is not a guilty pleasure of mine. I don't enjoy the show as a whole. But right. I'm not so. I like stuff like that where I'm like, I'm not so stuck up that I can't be like, that was pretty good. Like I like that. That was good. Yeah. You know, I at one point said, made the statement like, I've seen every Fast and the Furious movie. It's not anymore. I think there's been too many, and like 8 of them were on accident, and I thought they were all pretty good. Like, you know, I accidentally watched one when I was just flipping through the TV back when I had cable or something, and it's not so bad. I like. You know, as Chris said, I like musicals. A lot of people like musicals, you idiots. Okay? Mm-hmm. The audience out there, oh, Chris likes musicals. You ever heard of Broadway? Like, it's packed. It's sold out every night. Okay? There's a whole industry around it. Get over it.
It is, yeah.
But I do like some music that some people would find it weird that I like.
Oh, really?
Like, I really like ragtime jazz. I hate jazz in general, but like ragtime from the late 1800s into the early 1900s. Like, I'm a big fan.
Oh wow, that's really interesting. That's like a really specific. That's a specific pull.
Yeah, I really like I did some ballroom dancing and then actually was instructed it for a semester as well when I was in college. And I love like the music, the different musics that can go along the different ballroom dancing. Like there's just stuff about me. I love Ellie Goulding. Like Ellie, yeah. I would die to go see Ellie Goulding. And back when I think it was Halcyon came out, like 2010, 11, 12, somewhere in there. I remember telling some of my buddies, I was like, oh yeah, some buddies got into my car and I had it like playing, and they're like, what are you listening to? And I was like, this is amazing. Shut up. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I guess I don't have like any specific,
you
know, guilty pleasures, but like I guess I just like a lot of stuff that people would not expect me specifically to like. And
I think that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, definitely like ragtime is not something that I would have expected to hear at all in this conversation. Like that's like a very, I think I think about ragtime literally like once or twice a decade.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like rolling down through the city with my windows down bumping Scott Joplin or something, but you know, I definitely I enjoy it. I find art in it. I like it. Yeah. And I'll jam to it for sure, but yeah, it's more for me stuff like that. And then you asked about stuff like that we should enjoy that we don't. I don't know that I have anything that I should enjoy that I don't, but there's definitely stuff that people like, especially with video games, man.
Yeah.
Like I told somebody recently, I'm like, I've never played Mass Effect. And they're like, what?
That's a sin.
I'm like, I'm playing actually through the first one right now, but
it's a good time to be doing that.
Yeah. But like I literally own all 3 Mass Effects physically and now digitally, but I've never played them. Like just stuff like that where it's like I know this is a game I would love, but I've just never gotten
the idea of it too.
Yeah, I love the idea of stuff. And I used to, especially back like pre getting married, having kids, all that kind of stuff. I just bought every game that came out. Yeah. And I just like I know I'm gonna like this game, and I just didn't get to play it. So I think that's more in the realm for me of like
I think before I kick it over to Maddie, something just can't like I think for me it's Star Wars. Like I feel like a lot of people would expect like because I love sci-fi. I like fantasy reasonably enough. I think a lot of fantasy is a little bit too similar for me. Like I like the variety of that sci-fi. Like I feel like like Halo is not Mass Effect. You know what I mean? Is not Battlestar Galactica. Is not Alien. You know what I mean? Those are very distinct. But like a lot of fantasy, despite how much I like it, feels pretty similar. Like I think Fable, like Fable and Skyrim are definitely different, but I think they're more similar than Alien and Mass Effect are. If that makes sense. I don't really know how to quantify that necessarily, but
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
But so Star Wars was like, oh, it's sci-fi and fantasy. That's dope. It's like wizards and fucking laser swords, and it's like I should like Star Wars a lot more than I do, and I don't really know why I don't. Like I love that. Like there's aspects of it that I love that soundtrack. I think it's fantastic. I think that specifically that I don't know what the song is called, but it's like the Twin Sunset theme. It's like the song that plays like when Luke's looking over at the Twin Sunsets on Tatooine. It's like that.
Yeah.
That specific like icon. It's like that's a fucking good. That's an amazing melody, and like there's so much good about it. Like I think the art design is great. I think the sound design is great. Don't care. Mm-hmm. Like it's weird. I don't fully understand why it doesn't work for me. But Maddie, let me kick it over to you. If you've had time to ruminate.
Do a little bit on the reverse end of things, like things I'm expected to like, but don't. Because my calling card for that was originally Sekiro. Like that is such a Maddie game. Like you're this kind of ninja, Japan themed, FromSoft game. And it took forever to click for me. This was the first year I played it, beat it, and loved it. But I tried it 3 times. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's really tough for me to just point and go like, why did I get this? Other than I think the final boss in Shadow of the Erdtree felt like such bullshit in the wrong direction that I wanted to see what people were talking about. But like, this is fair. This is like how fair boss fights work. And that's what pulled me into that. So originally Sekiro was like my go-to, like, I should by definition of my taste and everything about me should love this game, and I don't, but now I do. So I got to go with the recent one, man. The new Joker movie. I really enjoyed it. I don't sell it like it's the best thing ever, but I see the audience review scores and even the critic scores, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Just by like removing the message from the movie, like the way it's shot, the way it's told, how different it is for a comic book movie. I'm like, I feel that because like right now, I think when I last looked, the audience score for Borderlands is higher. And I'm like, Borderlands is literally one of the worst things I have ever seen in my life. And I know there's a level of extremism because, again, people don't like the message of the movie. I just find it very interesting that we have a comic book movie that can exist like Joker 2. And I don't know, maybe that's the creative in me that just finds it deeply fascinating. I don't try to justify it, and I certainly don't try to sell people on it. That's for sure, because I get where people are at with it. But that's something I do feel guilty about enjoying. Like I walked out of the theater, I was like, that was kind of good. Like, I don't know, there was a lot. It was like unevenly paced for sure. It was very flawed, but I was like, there was at the end, I'm like, damn, they kind of like, I like a bold story that just tries to say like, fuck it, we're doing something crazy here. And especially with the way it ends, I'm like, wow, like that you went for that. And there's very few things I can mark on my list. There's like 2 games I can think of and a movie I can think of right next to Joker, where again, it doesn't make it good, but I can go like, wow, you did that. That's crazy. Because especially on that scale, comic book movie and everything. So I really do think that movie is like my current one where I'm like, I still believe one day it'll become a little bit of a cult classic. Like I think the movie just has too much of frankly, a vibe to it. I'm like if Spider-Man 3 can crawl out of the fucking trenches and become loved, I'm like, I think, and I know Spider-Man 3 is hilarious, but like I watched it this year. I'm like, outside of the Bully Maguire part, this movie is fucking awful. And I guess that's part of the fun of it. So I'm like, I think whether you're making fun of it or you actually genuinely enjoy it, I think Joker 2 will kind of find its way at some point. It's certainly not in the box office. We saw the results of that. And honestly, I don't even think WB cares at this point because they're just so in on the Batman universe with like Matt Reeves, and apparently Penguin's really good. I know, Ben, you do like a show with Locke and everyone on that. And it's one that I'm really excited to check out, but it seems like they're just fully in on that because that's where the money is. But I would say that's my guilty pleasure right now. It used to be Warrior games, like the Muso games. I think people would expect me to like them, but I think because I've kind of defined my taste for most who watch me review stuff as like great writing and storytelling and character work and like mixing in interesting gameplay. Muso games are like the junk food of gaming. Like you just fucking beat up thousands of enemies. It doesn't really change much. I've never played a Muso game where I went, oh man, that was a good story. Like it's never happened in my life. And I just love when it's like an immediate interest for me. Like, oh, you're doing Persona 5 Strikers is from the Muso team. Cool. I'm in. I'm not really a big Zelda fan, but Hyrule Warriors, I'm in. Fire Emblem Warriors is like one of the, it might be the best Muso game I've played. Like it's amazing. There's always like little wrinkles in them. And I consider myself like a low key Muso game expert. And I get like, I'm so excited for the top of next year for the new Dynasty Warriors game. Cause I'm like, this looks way more mature. I don't know. Like it looks very different. And so I'm kind of pumped for that. I think in the LSM community, another guilty pleasure would be Sonic. Because I remember I remember talking about Shadow Generation story. I was like, no, I think this is authentically like a great story. Like people should check it out. And like one of the comments was like one of those kind of call it like the double-edged sword. Like one of the comments was literally like, man, like I really respect the way Matt broke that down, but it's fucking hilarious that he's trying to act like this is like it's a fucking like blue hedgehog running around like, and we're talking about like the serious story. I'm like, dude, don't knock it till you try it. Like there's sometimes like these stories can be heartfelt. Is how I would define it. But I feel guilty about that because it's like I'm a almost 30-year-old man trying to sell you on this like kids franchise that has these heartfelt moments in its writing. I get how ridiculous it sounds, but there's times it's really, I think, great. And I think Shadow Generation is one of my favorite games this year. I'm like, it really is that good. But I know that I feel like I'm just barking up the wrong tree when I talk about it because I feel like it's one of those things where when you start your sentence, you're like, everyone's going to think I'm stupid, but I'm going to get this off my chest anyway, because this is more for me than anyone else.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Sonic is a bit of a punching bag. I just didn't grow up with it. And so like for me, like
I didn't either. I hated Sonic. That's the thing that's crazy. I learned to like this dude like when I was in my late 20s. I was like, I feel like, what does that say about me?
Yeah, I don't know. I find him, I just find his design really off-putting. Like I don't like the eyes. I don't like there's something about it that like hurts me to like, and I don't even deny that like there's probably like really good games there, like but I've played enough of them. Like I've played like the old, like I played a little bit of like Sonic and Sonic 2 and Sonic and Knuckles, and I think I get it. I just
you ever do like Adventure? I don't think I've ever asked you. Did you ever do Adventure?
Oh, I hated Adventure. No, I didn't. Okay. To be fair, I didn't. To be fair, I didn't play these extensively. Like I played these like for maybe like 2 hours a pop. Like, and I think I get it. Like, I just don't think it works for me. And it's not even necessarily like I think we play up the the hate on Sonic just because it's funny. Also, like that Twitter account is crazy. Like, I don't know if it still is, but like the Sonic Twitter account used to be like a
yeah, dude. It was like part of the reason they had a renaissance. They would just say out of pocket shit constantly, and they still kind of do it. You remember that game that came out last year? It was the Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. And it was just a like free 3-hour visual novel game. And like I played it through. I was like, this is kind of great. Like I hope they do more of this. But they just randomly dropped that. They're like, fuck it, here you go.
Yeah, they're weird. And I think they're interesting. I just feel like it also just feels like for me, I'm like, is it just too late to play? Well, first of all, I just don't think they work for me. But also, like, if they worked for me, even if they did work for me, it would be hard for me to jump into this because there's like I don't want to say it's like there's like a My Little Pony quality to it exactly, but it's like adjacent in a way where it's like
it definitely. I can see that. Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's not quite as extreme. I think it's
outside
more reasonable.
of like games and entertainment. I actually don't know if this is a guilty pleasure or not. I guess this conversation will really kind of fill in that gap. But is liking olives weird? Is that like a?
Oh my god,
olives?
I love olives, and I don't understand. Like everybody that I've ever spoken to, for whatever reason, cannot stand them, and I don't understand how that's even possible.
Yeah, I hated olives, and then. Anytime, like, because Laylee loves them, she's like, try this, try olives with this, try olives with that. I'm like, I don't like pretty much forcing me to like these things. I'm just like, I can't, like, they taste like fucking bitter ass, dude. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. And then one day she gets pesto for pasta, and I look and it's pesto with olives, and I'm like, are you trolling me, or is this like, she's like, gosh, I genuinely didn't know. I was like, all right, whatever, we'll try it anyway. And as I notice as I'm consuming it, I'm like, every bite with the olive is the one I'm kind of looking for, right? Like you find your flow with the plate and you realize what the good bites are. And you're like, it's when that olive hits. And then from there, I just kind of became a fiend. Like, what sandwich can I put this on? Can I get olives in my salad? And it's funny because the reason I like olives now is because it's such an acquired taste in that literally nothing tastes like an olive. Like it is such a funky ass flavor that on its own, I frankly, I feel like I could do it now because I've been trained to like it, but it really is the weirdest tasting food that I really like. And I'm like, is this a hot take? Like, is this a guilty, like, should I feel bad about this? Cause I can't imagine, like, it's not like I hand like a grape to a kid. It's like, oh, this is a sweet thing. Like if I handed an olive to the kid, he'd probably vomit on the floor. He'd be like, what the fuck did you just feed me? So I don't know. When it comes to olives, like I feel like it should be a guilty pleasure. At least that's where my head's at. So that'd be another one.
That's so interesting.
I mean, they sell billions of olives a year. It can't be that niche of a interest.
But I'm telling you, most people that most people that aren't in my family, like, cause look, like olives are in a lot of like Spanish dishes. Like you just have it, like there's olives in rice. Like they make like it's just in a lot of things. It's in pasta and all sorts of stuff. And so I don't even think I realized that it was even an acquired taste, because like by the time I was even sentient, like properly sentient, you know what I mean? Like not like a 3-year-old where you're like, it's like a automaton basically.
Right.
I just kind of I just like defaulted to like these are delicious. Like specifically, like I love like a manzanilla or a manzanilla olive, like with the it's just an olive with like the pimento pepper in the middle.
Yeah.
Fucking love those. I could eat those like by themselves, like with a fucking spoon. I love them. Obviously you can't overdo it because it is a strong flavor. You gotta relax a little bit.
Yeah.
But it is fucking delicious. And everybody that I've spoken to that's not either Hispanic or like in my family just like can't stand them. Like they're just like, I don't like them. They're fucking disgusting. I was like, how are they disgusting? They're so good. For years I've just never understood it. But I guess it is like you saying that it's an acquired taste, I guess makes sense because I'd never had to acquire it. You know what I mean? It's just always, that's the thing. I never thought of it that way because it was just like, to me, it just tastes like how good an olive tastes.
Yeah. There's never been a food I've had that, like an olive, it's so weird because I like olives a lot now, but like, I don't know if olives actually taste good by definition, like a sweet or savory thing. Like it doesn't have that to it. It's just this weird, really weird flavor that I almost don't know how it crept into the norms of society. Like this is a thing that we grow and sell and consume. Like it just blows my fucking mind. So I don't know. I feel like that should be a guilty pleasure, but the audience might let us know. I don't know if we're gonna have like an olive debate at this point, but
I think you'd be surprised to see a lot of people can't stand them.
Yeah.
Do you like blue cheese? And follow up, have you ever had the blue cheese stuffed olives?
So that was where I thought it would turn around for me. So to answer, I do like blue cheese a lot. I tried blue cheese stuffed olives before I just somehow ended up liking olives. And it was just so, I just like spit it out. I remember it actually. I spit it out because I was at my parents' house and we were like watching a football game. and I just wasn't feeling it. But now, because I like olives, I'm like, give me that. I said, I guarantee I'll fucking love that.
I feel like those are two very polarizing things that go very well together at the same time.
Yeah. That's like what is it? I had for the first time, dude, for a long time I just didn't like the whole like there's this, I don't know if you would call it a theory necessarily. That's a little bit too intellectual of a word to use for this type of conversation. But like this whole like sweet and savory kind of thing, right? Where you would like you'd mix the two and you would have like I don't even know, like the one that I'm thinking of is cheese curds and caramel. You know what I mean? Like that was always like, ew. That sounds horrible. Why would I want to mix these two things? And then like I was at a Buffalo Wild Wings with it was like a strange group. I think it was like with I'm not gonna name it. It's a very strange group of people. And then like the waitress was like, I ordered the cheese curds because I think cheese curds are fucking delicious. I don't know what the heck, especially the ones at Buffalo Wild Wings. They put crack in those things or something. I don't know what they do.
Oh
but
my god,
they're
I forgot
really
how
fucking
good those are. Yeah,
they're upsettingly good. In fact, I'm probably gonna get them after this just because I remembered them. But
so good.
And then the lady was like, "Oh, have you ever had these with caramel?" I was like, "What the fuck? No." What are you talking about? It's like, have you ever had like syrup on your pizza? Like, of course I haven't. That's such an insane question. And then she was like, "No, I'll bring you some caramel for free. You got to try it. It's really good." And I'm like, "Okay." And I was really hesitant about it. And then I had it. I was like, "This is fire. This is the best thing. This is one of the best flavors I think I've ever experienced."
It's the most American thing you can do too. Like cheese,
I know, like
fucking caramel.
Yeah, just sugar on cheese. It's so insane. But
how can I die quicker?
Right.
I'm totally fine with it. Dude, it was so good, and I couldn't believe. I'm still like dubious about like a lot of other mixer. Like there's some other mixers I can't even like necessarily think of them right now, but people like swear by like that sweet and savory mix. I remember like a big thing at Five Guys for a while was that people would like, I don't know if it was like bacon bits in the milkshake. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Like
dude,
Five
Guys, I just have not.
Yeah,
I had that after my SATs, and I felt like I had lead in my fucking stomach after. And that was when I grinded fast food. I was like, this oily ass shit is nasty. I'm out.
Oh, dude, I
never
love Five
do it
Guys
again.
That's an interesting take. See that would be like a reverse. I feel.
I hate fast food now. I mean, I grew up practically on fast food. It was cheap, easy, tasted great, but like I have not had I should say it's like I've had a fast food thing here or there, but if we're talking like McDonald's, like your traditional ones, like dude, it makes me ill now because like my body is so not used to it. What happened was oh god, like I went through the gauntlet. So I was hanging out with a buddy all day. We got McDonald's for breakfast, Chinese food for fucking lunch, and then for dinner we got Burger King. And then I went to my friend's house because they were going to prom that night. So I was just gonna say like, hey, what's up? So I showed up there, said, hey, I'll be right back. Like I got there like literally minute of, said, hey, I'll be right back. Went upstairs, puked, came downstairs and said, hey man, I just threw up. I'm sorry, I gotta go. I just left. Like I just literally showed up to use their toilet, quite frankly.
That is insane.
And that was like where I drew the line. I was like, I can't do fast food. That was like the worst I've ever felt.
Yeah, like, that's
when
smart.
I eat food like just in a normal, steady like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I vomit because it's my body's like so like, what is this shit, man? Granted, I went overboard, but yeah, I was like, no,
that's pretty wild. That's a pretty wild comment. McDonald's and Burger King as a bookend to your fucking day is crazy. That's like
and having like crab rangoon in the middle, dude. I was playing with fire.
Oh my god, it wasn't even like
it wasn't even like traditional Chinese food that like General Tso's chicken or something like. It was like like I'm just gonna have like cream cheese fried, like just. I mean, I had it coming.
Yeah. Sometimes you have those days, man. Sometimes it's just like for whatever reason you just find yourself and you're like, all right, McDonald's, sushi.
It was more like I was trying to match this guy because he just wanted to. It was my friend's older brother, and like we were just hanging out watching hockey all day, and he just only ate this type of food. He's like, I have nothing in my house, so we want to catch the game. So each time we just went out to fast food, and I was like, okay, like one day's not going to kill me. Spoiler, it did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. Like I don't. Would that be a hot take? Maybe in America that would be. you know, like
what that that fast
just
food
resisting fast food completely. Like,
no, this is smart.
yeah,
I think a lot of people would say it'd be weird if you had it once, but I think anybody who's ever accidentally done the fast food for every meal is like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
It's pretty vile. Like that's like fast food's like a once in a while. Like to be honestly, like if I'm working a lot and I'm like editing and I'm like it's been like a long day of recording. Like after this, I have like 2 snark tanks that we got to record. And so like this is probably gonna be like I'm ordering out probably.
100%.
I don't have the
same
time.
way.
And so like unfortunately too, like I have a weird like I don't eat until I'm like really hungry. Like I don't. I will forget to eat, and usually I'm reminded by the fact that like, oh, I feel like I'm falling apart and I'm gonna die, so I should get something to eat real quick. And usually by that point, it's so late in the day that all of like the healthiest things are like done, which is like the worst. That's like the worst because then it's like, okay, time for like a fucking chicken quesadilla from Taco Bell or something. Just like the safest thing that I can imagine from these places. I'm not going like, oh, Crunchwrap Supreme or like Crab Rangoon.
God, I fucking love Crunchwrap Supremes though, man. Like in
like
spite
them.
of it all, but then the thing is like the last Crunchwrap I made at home and it was fucking good, dude. Like those things are not hard to recreate. But
yeah.
I another guilty pleasure in light of all that I'll just throw out there is door dashing. That's just fuck, man.
Yeah,
like, COVID fucking ruined me. I remember thinking, like the way COVID warped my mind, where like pre-COVID. When people were telling me like, oh, like, you know, you just order on this app and they'll deliver your food to you. I was like, I distinctly remember saying to my friend, that is stupid. I will never do that. I will get in my car and grab my food and not pay the fee. How times have changed, man. Just like Chris defined like a very common day for me once a week, at least. Like, man, I'm fucking like cooked right now. I don't have time to go to the kitchen. I'm going to go order something. And granted, I'm ordering for like a restaurant. So it's like, you know, I'm not doing as bad as like, let me get quick McDonald's or whatever. But once you break open that floodgate, like Laylee got ice cream one night, I was like, I want some ice cream. And then I got ice cream again. And then a third night, I was like, I gotta fucking stop, dude. Like, stop, Matt. Come on. That's the thing for me is I do have good food control, but with takeout, like that's like the perfect way for me to unwind. It just feels so good to have like a nice warm meal. Just there it is on my doorstep. It's great.
Yeah.
It's so good emotionally that I just can fall prey to that so quickly.
It's a rough feedback loop, yeah.
The wild ones are so I've done some door dashing this year, like being the dasher. It's a just fill in here and there for some income, I guess. And the wild ones, you know, somebody wants to order something like a whole meal from Panera or Applebee's, you know, whatever, that's fine. You know, you get plenty of people who are grabbing a pizza. Of course, you know, some people getting fast food, whatever. The wild ones are like the multi-leg ones where it's like they got a crunch wrap from Taco Bell and they got a Whopper from Burger King and they need a milkshake from McDonald's. I'm like, you're not just okay with like one fast food meal. You got to have like an item from 6 different ones. I mean, they usually pay really well because you're going so many different places and they're getting that fee every time. But I'm like, I know this isn't enough food for a whole family. This is like
one person,
maybe 1 or 2 people who want to eat a little extra, but they just really want one specific thing from each different place. Those are the wild ones. That's guilty pleasure.
That's crazy. It's anytime I've ever like ordered for a group, it's usually like, what are we getting from?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not gonna do this fucking weird shit. Or like, if you're gonna do your own thing, just do your own thing. Like that's fine. Like I've definitely done that before. Like everybody wanted like sushi, and I'm like, I'm not ordering sushi. I'm gonna get like a burger or something. That's crazy.
Yeah,
but yeah, like dude, especially like around where my parents are now, like my old neighborhood. There's like a lot of good restaurants out there now. Like it's like I remember like when I was home for a brief period, there was like this Dominican place across the street from my old high school that is fucking delicious, and it's fucked how good it is. And I'm just like, oh, this is great. Like I would never rely on McDonald's out here. And thankfully, like living in a place now where like I'm like walking distance for like I'm like there's like restaurants that, like on my street, you know what I mean? So I can walk out, and so convenient. That saves a lot. But it's usually like that like post 10 p.m. I don't realize what time it is. I've been in like a Premiere hole. I've been editing. I don't realize it. Like, oh, fuck.
Sometimes I schedule the order now, like, because I know I'll get in that hole, and then by the time I'm like, I'm hungry, you don't realize that it's gonna be like in an hour before you get your food.
Right. I've never considered doing that. That's actually that's actually way smart.
Because I have to account for the fact that you sound like you're like me. I just get so wholeheartedly absorbed by whatever I am doing that my body just doesn't alert me I'm hungry until like I might look away at my phone and like my focus is just disturbed in some way. And I'm like, oh shit, it's like 9:30 at night and I haven't eaten in like 5 hours. I'm going to be hungry any moment now. And like at least accounting for that, knowing like, okay, I'm going to edit. If I'm going to edit, I know I'm not breaking away. That's going to be like 2-3 hours gone. And I just need to account for that. So you should try it. It can save your ass for sure.
It is a regular occurrence that my wife I'll be like here at my desk and my wife will bring me lunch or something. I'm like, thanks. And then like 20 minutes later, she brings me another meal and I'm like confused. And she's like, I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, it's 6 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, okay. That was 6 hours all of a sudden. And I just didn't realize it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The whole scheduling thing. Yeah,
getting in a hole like that is like I find it really satisfying. I love it. I love getting a lot shit. Like looking at the timeline change and be like, oh, it's so different, and it feels like it really doesn't feel like that much time has passed at all. And then it's like 3 a.m. It's awesome. I love that feeling. But like, yeah, it is like, man, I can't believe I never considered that. I didn't even think that was necessarily an option. I guess I just never looked too closely at the app because I got so in a flow of just like, I guess I'll just order when I'm fucking hungry. But that's a pretty transformative tip, I think.
Yeah, it might not help you with your orders, dude. I won't lie. Like you might put some more in. Don't blame me. There's your new guilty pleasure.
Well, the fortunate thing is like there's a bar that has really good food that's open pretty late. Like their kitchen closes at like 11:30 or something. So it's like if I'm in a bind, but usually like I don't notice till like fucking 2 a.m. You know what I mean? So it's like that's kind of the issue. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like guilty pleasures that like I feel like it's all music related. Like, but it's not even, again, like Ben said, I don't think it's like guilty pleasures. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like ashamed. I don't give a shit. Like I have a playlist literally on Spotify. It's public. It's called Chris Ray Gun, every song I've ever even remotely enjoyed. And it's just, and it is schizophrenic. There's like the Ape Escape soundtrack on here. It's like Billie Eilish. It's like new Linkin Park, like new, like from the last like month. Just like, all right. Chaka Khan. Logic. It's all over the place.
Yeah, you bringing up music, man. I definitely enjoy. I'm like a flow kind of music guy where I definitely like. I enjoy obviously video game music the most. So then in turn, I'm kind of drawn to Japanese music because it has that similar functionality of my brain where it's like I don't know really what you're saying, but this sounds good, and therefore I catch like an atmosphere or a vibe from it. And then I'll jump to the 50s music that I, Fallout introduced me to, but I've like explored so much and love. But like lately, I've been enjoying like normal trending songs, which is very unlike me. Like I have listened to a decent amount of Chapel Row, and
me too.
Charlie XCX. I'm like, I love the song Apple. I'm like, this is kind of a jam. Like I really enjoy this a lot, and I know normally I would be like, what is this? Get this the fuck away from me. But I don't know, dude. Like their music is Sabrina Carpenter. I'm like, yeah, this is like kind of like at first you hear it like, and then it gets stuck in your head. You're like, okay, I like it. Like I know I like this. I'm trying to be more open with my music taste, I guess. But yeah, no doubt. I think when people look at me, especially on like Duke, I always talk about like listening to, video game music to just be like, oh, he also listens to Chapel Roan. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, there's some bangers there, man. I can't pretend. Like I remember hearing, I heard like Hot to Go in the radio. Like a friend of mine was playing it, and I was like, she was like, oh, have you ever heard this? And I'm like, no, what is this? And she was playing it, and I'm like, it sounds like shit. And I was like giving her shit, and then I went home and like added it to my to my playlist because it is fun. I don't know, man. Like I think I've learned over time. Like in high school, I think I was like a little bit more snobby about it. Like I definitely didn't like a lot of like trending stuff or like stuff that was like top 40. I don't even know what you would call it now, but just like the stuff that was popular. And at a certain point, I'm just like, well, I mean, even if it's not saying much, like, because I was like a lyrics like I like really love lyrics. If it didn't have any good lyrics, I didn't care. But like also like that's like half the equation, you know. So like if there's like good melody going on, like why do I really care? And then like I went back on like a lot of the music that like I used to kind of make fun of, and I just like added a lot of it back onto my like I have like old Kelly Clarkson on this thing, and like just like a lot of early 2000s stuff that like probably used to irritate me, but like I've grown to appreciate, like Backstreet Boys and stuff like that. Dude,
yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine made me like love Backstreet Boys again completely.
It's all back.
Not even just
it's all back, and it's like ironically back too.
Yeah, like I was like, when that song played in that movie, I was like, I fucking love this song, man. Like, what was wrong with me? Like, this is great. Yeah, I guess there's a little nostalgia in it, but yeah, dude, that song absolutely slaps. For me, I've been getting into like I'm trying to remember what the exact genre is. I can look it up because I have my Spotify here. But
dude, music genres make no sense the way they're named. Like, it's one of the it's the barrier of entry for me to get like super into it because I just don't know what any of this fucking means.
Yeah,
you know, metalcore. What the fuck does core imply? Like, I don't know what any. I don't melodic hardcore. What?
There's like 18 subgenres of metal. That each have subgenres of their own.
Yeah,
and half of them are just colored plus metal, and that's
and even pop isn't like a good like fucking description of anything because it just means like whatever's pop. Like that new, there's like a new, I think like a K-pop song like with Bruno Mars going around that I kind of like. Mm-hmm. That's like fucking kind of annoying, but I like it anyway.
Dude, Creed is back in such a big way right now.
Really? Oh yeah, Creed has made like a bit of a resurgence. Yeah. I don't know if that's ironic or not because like I like that stuff. I don't know if I would bump it necessarily, but like like singing it in the in the break room for the live show was really fucking funny, and there's good shit out there. Like, and I think I just had like a really dismissive attitude for a long time where it's just like, you know what? I was very in a bubble where I was like, I'm just gonna stick with like punk and because this is like my circle. I like it. Mm-hmm. But
for me, the thing I got listening to that I really enjoyed was this artist called Double. I had to like look up her bio real quick on Spotify. It's one of the first missionaries of Western rhythm and blues in Japan. She's titled as the R&B queen in her home country. And it's interesting. Double, yeah, because she did a band with her younger sister, but she passed away before their like debut album, and so she kept the name in like honor of her sister, but it's really just like her as a solo artist. But she is like a late 90s, early 2000s like Japanese R&B artist that kind of broke through a little, like took like Western sensibilities into her music, and I don't know, she's like really fucking good. But like her monthly listeners on Spotify, like, it's not awful. It's like 145,000 right now monthly listeners. That's like not much at all for how like great her music is, and it's just like totally buried. And I think I recommended it on a Q&A I recently did for my Patreon, but like it's super good. And I guess that would be Japanese music. I don't think anyone would be surprised I like listening to, but like this is one that I wouldn't call it a guilty pleasure at all because I think we're all in the same boat. When you're like an online personality, you can't really afford to just be guilty about the shit you like, or you'll just be people will make you feel guilty about everything. But her album, the one I listen to most is called Vision, which I think is really great. I don't know, it's like something that I jam out to frequently though.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I'm always looking for like new music.
It's one of those rabbit hole things where like you'll hear that and be like, what other artists sound like this, and that's kind of where I've ended up with it.
Man, well, it's a tight little episode. I mean, I guess there's only 3 of us, so it's like, you know, it's bound to be a little bit shorter, but
for sure.
I feel pretty satisfied.
Excellent,
fun little conversation with Benjamin and Matthew.
I hate.
Is there guys' actual names?
Yes
or no?
Yeah.
It's like
only my mom calls me Matthew. Only
dude, I didn't know. I think when I was like really little, because my name's Christopher Ray. My middle name is Ray. But like I think when I was little, they asked me to like I don't remember if it was school or like a doctor or whatever. They asked me to like write my name on something, and I just assumed my middle name was Raymond because that's what Ray is short for. And then I wrote it.
guess.
So I wrote it, and then my parents were like, "That's not your fucking name." And I was like, "But isn't that what it's short for?" And then they were like, "Yes." And I was like, "So what?" And then they were like, "I guess we've confused you."
Yeah.
But yeah, some people just don't have full names. It's weird. Like I knew a kid named Chris, not Christopher, not Christian, just Chris. And I was like, oh, weird. That's fucking fascinating. But anyway, want to go around the horn. Thank you guys for joining me on this tight episode of Constellation.
Absolutely.
Let's go around the horn, say goodbye.
Yeah.
Goodbye to you, Maddie. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Yeah, it's Friday, and I'm looking forward to some R&R this weekend. Just chilling out. What we got, like a little bit over a month left in the year for work, I mean. And so just looking at how are we wrapping things up here, that sort of thing. So just kind of getting into that next phase, that next mindset, and then looking forward to some more time off. Honestly, it's been a long year, a lot of highs and lows, but great to be here. Very excited for the next episode, and thank you for having me.
Of course. Ben, goodbye to you.
Goodbye. It was fun hanging out with you guys. I this weekend, I don't really know if I have too big of plans, but I'm excited because Monday Dustin comes back, and I don't have to do his work anymore. So that'll be a nice. It'll feel nice. I'll feel like very relieved, and then it'll go back to being normal. But the second thing is, it's okay to have this tight, short little episode. You know, patrons have gotten spoiled. They forget that our roots are in 1.5 hour episodes being a long episode.
I know.
For everything back in the day. Now, so if an episode comes out and it's shorter than 4 hours, they're like, I'm canceling my patronage. And I'm like, bitch.
We have like multiple 3-hour shows. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Dude, it's
I said bitch a lot this episode, actually.
I am consistently astounded that there's even still stuff to talk about after just a week of talking. You know what I mean? Just like I guess it is a skill, I think, honestly. Like, because there's a lot of people that like are like, oh, I could do this. Like, yeah, okay, go do it.
Well, I like people have even said to me, like, you told that story before. I'm like, I'm barely on anything. If I've told something before, I know everybody else is telling stuff over and over again. So just think about it. You know, the 5-hour shows you normally get, if you just didn't hear repeat information, maybe they'd be 3.5 hours. Okay? Just be thankful for what you get.
Who the fuck has like 2 million hours of brand new experiences?
Exactly.
Fucking that's not possible. It's insane. Right. Oh my God. Whatever. Anyway, thanks for joining. Thanks for the support. Go on over to patreon.com/laststandmedia. You can find all of our stuff there. And goodbye.
Constellation is a product of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show was conceived by and is directed and hosted by me, Colin Moriarty. My co-host is my brother, Dagan Moriarty. The show is produced by Last Stand's executive producer, Dustin Furman, and is edited by associate producer, Ben Smith. All Last Stand theme music is by Ramon Narvaez, and all of our graphics and logos are by Dagan Moriarty. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's podcasts, including Constellation, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest support tier, and we're infinitely grateful for your thoughtful and kind contributions to our independent endeavor.